Well, good afternoon, good evening, good morning. I hope you're doing very well. We are in for something really different this evening, to say the least. This isn't something that I would normally do. It's great to see you all on. Say hi in the chat. Let me also, we've lots more people coming in. So you're very welcome. So the kind of reason behind tonight's session really is so many people go off and they get all the tools and they get all the strategies, and it's interesting. Have you ever wondered what is the difference between you know um, the what's the secret, what's the formula between somebody doing extremely well or somebody not doing extremely well? And that's something that has fascinated me for a long, long time. Because you may not know this about me, but a number of years back, I got completely financially wiped out, to the tune of about 1.7, 1.8 million in a project of my own money, which caused me a few difficulties, as you can imagine. So it really was through no Graham. There's no video yet, and the video will come on. I actually turned my camera on. I'm in casual gear, guys, because I was at a funeral and I came back and I just got into a tracksuit. So do forgive me that I'm in casual gear, but I'll turn the video on just for now anyway, and so that you can see me and you can say hi. And the office is in a bit of a mess, and I have my pint of water and my pad for the notes. So. And I kind of became involved, in the mindset world, because your mind's a dangerous place. It's a great place. It's also a dangerous place, and it's not something that I talk about a lot. Obviously, I am not a motivational speaker in any shape or form. I am not a person who talks about the whole space of motivation. It's not my expertise, but I have actually done a lot of it. I've shared a stage with Yarrick Robbins. I've worked with a number of people because it's interesting. You are the sum of your programming, and I do believe, and I mentioned that on one of the emails I sent out today. I was watching Elon Musk with Joe Rogan on YouTube with podcast. Fascinating. If you haven't seen it, I certainly would recommend you to take 2 hours. It took me a weekend to digest it because I'd watch it and let it come in, and where he sees social media, AI and all the rest of it. But this man gets up in the morning and does all the same things we do, right? He's a human being. He has the same skills, needs, wants, and desires, but has a completely different way of looking at it. So the only difference between him and us really is what's in here. No, I'm not suggesting that any of us are going to be Elon Musk. I think the man is the genius. I think he's the Einstein of our era. Whether you agree with him or not, you've got to recognize, that the guy is definitely on the spectrum of outrageously genius. But when you meet a lot of people who have been successful in life and who have, stepped up and made a lot of money like I have, and lost a lot of money like I have, what is the thing that makes you set up? I'm just going to mute this. What is the thing that makes you, what is the bit that makes a difference? If everybody's had the same tools, the same ways of doing it, the same ways of doing everything, what is the difference between people that are outrageously successful and the people that aren't? And it's your mind. And you may think that this is a load of gobbledygook, right? And to be honest with you, when I started looking at this whole world, that was pretty much what I thought. I thought this was very much, but it is. I had a real bad experience in school. And this isn't confessions of Anthony or Boohoo or all the rest of it, but I went through Christian Brothers. Thank God there was nothing sexual in any shape or form. But physically, I was hit 220 times with a duster on the back of my knuckles as a kid. reps, right? It was 10 times in one setting, 10 times. It took the guy 25 minutes to hit me. And boom, 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 10 sets, boom, 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 boom. And it was kind of halfway through that my mind changed, and it was, okay, I'm in agony, but this guy's just not going to see it. He's just not going, and I can still feel it, not going to see it. But the fear attached to that is the fear that can, can come in and bring you back. And your mind can play tricks on you, trying to protect you, trying to look after you, right? It can bring you back into situations that when I lost the business, it really was, I could hear these voices in my head that weren't my voices, right? And it wasn't that I was hearing voices and it was going that way, right? It was, the dialogue in my head, let's put it that way in my head. And it wasn't my dialogue, it was the dialogue of this particular Christian brother, you're useless, you're thick, you're dumb, you're stupid, what are you doing? And all the rest of it. And I had to go off and find the skill set to turn that off, right? And it still turns off. I'm not going to lie to you, it still turns off, right? It doesn't go away, but now I know how to manage it, now I know how to recognize it, now I know how to kick it off. And it is kind of fascinating when you look at this, of the type of stuff, and even your parents, not saying that your parents would be abusive in any shape or form, but if you look at it, why are people who come from wealthy families very wealthy? No, yes, we all understand that, one generation makes it, the next generation grows it, the next generation loses it. That does happen because they've never had to work, they've never had the pressure, they've never had anything like that on it. But when you look at the situation of, they come from this because they believe, and it's the mindset. So I've asked Daryl to come on. I met Daryl a couple of years back, right? We're just waiting for him to come on. I met Daryl a couple of years back, and Daryl's a fascinating character because he went to the Navy Academy and then went into the Marines and became a major in the Marines. Now, I'll be very clear. I don't agree with war in any shape or form. I don't think anybody should die over a flag. I think it's great when it comes to sports, that we all represent our country, and I'll bleed green the same as any other Irishman when it comes to the sport. But when it comes to somebody dying because of a flag or politics, I don't believe that's right. But I have a huge respect for anybody who believes in that, who will actually go out and do it. And this was the conversation I had with Daryl. It was like, I have huge respect for anybody who can have the mental, think about this, right? Okay, you're trained and all the rest of it. I understand that, right? But okay. But even still, I fought professional kickboxing, another thing that you probably don't know, right? Before the child, right? Back when we used to have to explain to people what it was, right? Okay, it wasn't, and we were doing it in boxing rings, right? And my whole mentality was pretty simple. I mightn't be the best. I used to train twice a day, 6 days a week, some days 3 times a day, but minimum 2 times a day, 6 days a week. I took Sundays off, right? Pretty much religious. And if I had a competition on Sunday, I took Saturday off, right? And I used to train like hell. There's a couple of reasons. One, I was angry because my sister died, was diagnosed with cancer and died when she was 30. So I was very angry, and I put that energy into it. But the other reason was I wanted to make sure that going into the ring, right, when I was inside the ring, looking at this logically as an analytical person, is if the person is better than me, right? Okay, let's call a spade a spade. If the person is better than me, I'm going to make sure that I can stay away from them. I'm not a coward in any shape or form, but if somebody's goal is to beat the crap out of you and knock you out, then you pretty much want to be. It's an interesting mindset to sit there and take it, right? So my thing was to see, and ironically, I never lost the fight because of it, and it wasn't because I was better; I was always fitter. So when I was talking with Darren, I met Darren, and I'd understand the fight or flight mentality, because going into the ring, I had to get my mind in the right place. And ironically, I got hypnotized to do that for going on stage speaking, because I was quite nervous going speaking, and I got hypnotized to do it, and I get in the exact same mindset. I can even see it now, right? I put on my earphones, I listen to AC/DC, right? Of all people, and I don't listen to AC/DC now, but they just get me pumped, right? And I get the whole stuff. And this is all programming my mind to get myself in a state, a heightened state. You might have seen the Netflix documentary with Tony Robbins, right? Which was fascinating because you saw the whole way that he got his mind in and got into state. And the whole point of this really is that, mind. We can hear you there, Darryl, just to tell you.
Hey, buddy.
How you doing? So
Good.
I'm just going to finish up, and then I'm going to give all this over to the expert. But like, so your mind is an interesting tool that you really have to get control of, because it is your best friend and your worst enemy all wrapped up into one, right? And that's always been my experience. So I asked Daryl to come in. I've huge respect for the fact that any person, as I was starting this, go out and go into a combat situation, the mental strength that it takes to do that is fascinating, because you know you're putting yourself in harm's way. You know, and then to come out with this, and Darrell will tell his own journey, come out with this and to realize that, you know, it has left a legacy. And you may not have done something that extreme in your life. I certainly didn't do anything that extreme in my life. But you know, it does, like with school with me, it was a legacy. With, you know, losing the business for a while was a legacy. That I had to get my mind right to you know, to move on and overcome and do it. So Darrell is going to work through you tonight with the money blocks. Darrell, you're very welcome. Thanks for coming on, man.
Appreciate the opportunity. Can you see me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you fine. I'm going to make you a presenter because you're
Okay.
not a panelist. And you're going to go on. So guys, as always, thanks for coming on. We are looking forward to this. You know, immensely. Certainly, I've been looking forward to this. As I said, I know Darrell. He's one of the top guys in this arena, in this space. Give me your attention. I'm going to turn my camera off now, and I am going to do what the rest of you are doing. Hopefully, you have a pad and pen, and Darrell is going to share some stuff that's going to truly change our lives completely. So, Darrell, over to you.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to everybody today. Coming from you from the hospital today. Unfortunately, life takes its turns, and my mom, you know, took a turn for the worse, and have the opportunity to step out because I have been able to create the freedom that I have with my schedule and my business. I was able to kind of take some of my time out of my day today to work with all of you that are showing up today. So truly, guys, I am taking time away from my mom today to be with you, and that's how important this is to me. When Anthony asked me to come talk to all of you, you know, he reached out to me, and I said, okay, you know, we'll work it out, we'll make it work. So they have like a business room down here in the hospital. So I'm down here right now in the business room, basically sharing with you guys. So I want to make sure that you guys understand how much it means to me to be here today, and to participate and help all of you. And I really want the concentration to be here as well. So if you're concentrated, you're in right now, just put a Y in the chat box. Put a Y in there to make sure that I know you're paying attention right now and that you're concentrating with the information I'll be sharing with you today. Otherwise, we really don't even have a reason to move forward. You know, if I don't see a bunch of Y's in the chat box on why we're actually even here, I'm not going to bother investing my time into you if you guys aren't going to be there. So if you guys all know how to use the chat box there, Anthony, I imagine he's taught you guys before, but you just put a Y in the chat box, but yes, I'm going to wait for those to actually come up. Anthony, can you do you see the chat box as well? Let's see what's in there. I see people are on the webinar right now, so just to make sure everybody knows how to use that. Can everybody see the screen okay? Just put a Y in the chat box. Make sure you guys can actually see that. All right, without further ado, guys, I'm going to go ahead and get started here. I just want to make sure that everybody's plugged in. Can everybody hear me okay right now? Just put a Y in the chat box if you guys can actually hear me. All right, Anthony, I don't know if can I see what's going on in the chat right now, buddy?
Yeah, you're a presenter, so you should be able to see it.
Okay, cool. Can you type something there? Because I haven't seen anybody.
Yeah, you just got to drop down questions. Everybody's saying yes, and everybody can hear you, Darrell, so it's all good.
Oh, really? Okay, because I can't see that, so maybe I'm not in the right place.
Yeah. No. You should have a panel at the side. Go to webinars. So.
Yeah, I'm looking for that right now. I just want to make sure I'm attentive and I'm seeing the questions that actually come in. I'm not seeing. I'm in the chat box right now, dude. I don't see anything.
No, so you go to questions, not the chat box. Go to questions. Everybody's putting into questions.
Oh, really? Okay, cool, cool. All right. All right, I'm looking under the questions right now. I don't see anything, Anthony. Do you see anything in there
So,
right now?
yeah, there's a load. So if you do the drop, see, there's a drop down arrow.
Show. All right. I don't see any questions, yeah, in there. But you see them?
Yeah, I'm getting questions.
Okay, can you change me to an organizer maybe? Maybe that's why it's not in here? I'm so used to
Yeah,
using
maybe it's not. Yeah, I'll change it there now.
okay,
And
cool. All right, I'm seeing it now, yeah. All right, man. I was about to
perfect.
like hang up on here. I was getting kind of ticked off, huh? All right,
All right,
guys.
Mike.
I'm I'm all good now at this point. I'm super fired up to be here. I want to make sure that I'm dialing with you guys. So today, I really want to share with you guys the 4 proven steps to create the ultimate freedom for your life. Really, I mean that's what we're talking about today. But before we begin, I need your commitment on something. I need to know your why. Have you individuals around here right now, have you figured out what your why is? Put a why in the chat box if you figured out your why and like why you're here today and what it is that you want to take away from this webinar today, because that's like super important. Before, one of the tricks I've learned along the way is one of the most important things is to understand why you're actually doing something before you go out and do it, because you have to program your mind in as far as like what you want to take away from the situation, whether you're going to an event, whether you're working with a mentor, whether you're just sitting down and meditating by yourself. You really got to dial that in. I got somebody in here, so I just want more time with my family. Oh, that's awesome, Kim. Be a service to other people. Stop worrying about money. Amen. I was there as well, Kim. I want to share with that today. I want to hear from you guys. All right, be successful in my biz so I can give back to others. That's awesome, Richard. Totally aligned with that. So, guys, if you haven't dialed in your why, I want you to be thinking about that right now. Okay, it's super important for everything you do. For me, my mission is to bring 1 million veterans home alive. Right, no veteran left behind. This is actually a picture of me in downtown Baghdad, there in Iraq. I'm on the far left side, and this is my Marines. And I got a chance to serve these Marines in combat. And like Anthony was kind of sharing earlier to you, with you about a little bit on my background and what I've actually done, is I had the question back in my back of my mind is like, hey, how would I react once you had, we call it like the two-way rifle range. And once you have people that are actually shooting at you, how are you actually going to react in that nature? And guys, that's no different than when you go out and actually business and you're out there and you're investing in yourself or you're investing in your marketing, your advertising, and you're wondering, hey, how's this going to work out? You really don't know, right? There's going to be stuff that comes along the way. There's going to be people coming at you from all different angles. What you got to figure out is sit down and get some counsel and dial in that message that you have and get it out to market. So I want to dial in that as we go through the presentation a little bit today. My promise to you is I will show you literally the 4-step process I developed, which turning literally 6-figure business owners into 7-figure business owners because of becoming more productive and eliminating any self-doubt when it comes to creating wealth, freedom, and confidence. In fact, I've helped over a dozen people become $1 million business owners almost entirely because they have used these 4 steps. I'll prove to you that you can replicate this during this webinar for yourself in your own business. So guys, I'm looking forward to sharing with you that today. I'll do a little live demonstration with you a little bit later and we'll dive into that, all right? So literally this 4-step process, I've worked with experts in the e-commerce, coaches that are out there selling different products, consultants, people to go around and talking to like IBM and Facebook and counsel them on what they're actually supposed to be doing. I've worked with speakers like Les Brown that's out there, realtors that have gone from literally leaving active duty Marine Corps and starting their businesses, launching them and doing 7 figures. To people that started out like negative in the software business to failing years and years and years over and over again, and now working with the likes of the top real estate people out there, Institute Software for their businesses. So guys, this is all stuff that different areas I've worked with. The MLM industry, especially the leaders that are out there, utilize and they work with their own leaders and kind of duplicate the process that are out there. Work with leaders, whether it's in the military, out of the military, running large organizations, people that run masterminds, have me out to literally work with their own masterminds. And that's just the beginning, guys, of some of the people I've actually worked with. So my freedom test to you right now is: do you have all the four freedoms in your life that you want? Put a Y in the chat box. Literally, I want to hear which freedom that's out there right now that you possibly don't have. Is the financial freedom something that's still a piece you're looking for? Is it having that location freedom to be able to work, wherever you want to in the world, or live wherever you want to, or do whatever you want to, whenever you want to? Having that emotional, security side of things, of not having to worry about the right side of the menu when you go to order food, or you're concerned about you're going to swipe your credit card. Who here has played the credit card or the debit card roulette, where literally I can remember swiping it, not knowing whether it's actually went through. All right. I've been in those embarrassing moments when it actually doesn't either, which is like no fun either. So guys, who here wants the time freedom? Literally the time freedom to say, hey, I'm going to take off for a week. Or like myself, I'm going to take off for the day and go visit my mom in the hospital for the day. And literally just, this is all I'm doing as far as work today, is working with you and Anthony and the group here, is to provide for possibly somebody out there that's similar to myself or was in my own shoes, where they're questioning themselves about, hey, am I doing the right thing, right? So literally, guys, I want to go through today and help you dial in what those four freedoms are for you. We're specifically going to really focus in on that financial piece of it as well. So guys, if one of these freedoms is missing out of your life right now, then this webinar is for you. If you have all the financial money you want in the world, you're doing whatever you want, whenever you want, having the emotional security and the time, you can do all these four freedoms, then hey, congratulations for showing up today and taking action, but you can head out now, because this is really to help you dial in that there's four different freedoms that are coming in. So we're specifically focused, guys, today on helping dial that in. So guys, here's the other cool part, guys. We're going to get into this, and without needing to talk, through all this stuff, and ever needing to think about money again. Who here would like to never have to think about money again? Put a Y in that chat box if that's you. And guys, this isn't hocus pocus or anything like that. There is going to be work involved, and you're going to have to do it. And I'm going to do it with you today, without talking about your frustrations, right? Who here talks about the frustrations, or my challenges, or my problem is, or this is going on in my business, I can't seem to figure it out, right? Guys, we're going to put all that stuff to bed right now. We're going to help you dial in where that's actually coming from, without your goals. Guys, you're going to be able to do this without doubting your skills as well, right? Your skills. You guys all on this call, everybody who's listening to this has a God-given gift, right? And literally, it's going to help dial in what that is for you, to figure out what that is. So that's really like super important. So even without knowing what has been robbing your productivity to profitability from the past, right? Who here has literally been robbing themselves, with the 6 inches of gray matter between their minds, in between their ears, basically, right? AKA their mind. So I know I did that for a long time, and it was like super painful. And once I figured it out, it was like a huge shift for myself. So as we're going to dive into this, guys, is tell me why you're here. Tell me why you're specifically here right now in this webinar. I really want to hear from you, in the webinar, so I can help gear some of the talk and the presentation to you, because I literally do stuff live for a reason. I really love the interaction from the people that are in there. So the mind lies all the time. Absolutely, Philip. So tell me why you guys are here on the webinar today. Kim, let me know why you're here. Richard, let me know why you're here. Daryl, let me know why you're here. Sam, Graham, please let me know right now why you guys are here. And I want to really dial this in, right? I want to get inspired to make a plan. Awesome. We're going to do that today. Financial freedom, to move up a notch or two. Awesome. Yeah, guys, if you're looking to level up literally your life or your income, now's the day, right? Now, no better time than now, right? So tired of the path to success being a constant battle? Gosh, Anthony, I can so relate with that. So literally, guys, I want to share with you, I've tried everything for achieving my goals. Here's why I still use these 4 steps on the go. And simply, it works, guys. These 4 steps I'm going to share with you guys today, they work. Literally, I've helped you, people like you, gross millions of dollars in sales. The process applies to all 4 freedoms, creating a freedom lifestyle others dream about. It works even if you don't even if you don't know, excuse me, my grammar, guys. I literally went to school till it's mentally challenged kids. I was in 1st grade. So I'm a little bit on the dyslexic side of things. Watch why I don't read off all these slides. Literally just fire through these with you. So literally, if you don't know what's been robbing you of your freedom, you don't even have to talk about. Literally, I'm talking about. I've tried all the books, the seminars, the Tony Robbins get-togethers, the firewalks, the masterminds that are out there, and nothing works faster than what I'm about to share with you today. Literally, it's going to work so fast on whatever it is you want help with. You're going to think, oh my gosh, what, this has been so simple. I was like, why did I know this sooner? And that's the way I felt once I actually learned this as well. So I want to share with you right now. This is an individual that I near and dear to my heart, a close personal friend, and he called me up when he was in absolute funk. Literally, guys, his mom was having some major problems. He had some stuff going on in his business. He was about to give a presentation the next day. He reached out to me and he's like, man, I was like, I'm in such a funk right now. I was like, I can't even see myself up on stage and talking to anybody about business. I'm struggling right now. I don't know what to do. Who here has been in a place where you've been struggling in your business and not knowing like where to turn, what to do, or how to actually do it? Just throw a Y in the chat box for me. Just let me know you guys are still hearing me right now. So me. Okay, cool. Absolutely. And oops. So literally, guys, as I sat down, I had a conversation with David Arsano. And through this conversation, he literally started to reinvigorate his why. He got in touch with, reignited that fire from within himself. Who here has been in business and you literally, your fire might be a little bit, dampered at times. Maybe it got rained on, right? Literally, it's been raining here for about 4 days straight. I don't know where it is where you're at, but literally that the damper inside of David had been dampered to literally that point where he was not sure like what was going to happen the next day. And I said to him very, very concisely, I said, David, what will happen as a result of working with me tonight that you can go out and actually serve the people you're going to serve with tomorrow? And he says, you know what? I'll serve everyone that's in there who is an eligible person to join our program so I can help them in their business because I know through helping them, I'll be able to affect the lives of millions of people. And I was like, all right, brother. I was like, you got it. I was like, you're up. Next day, I was like, send me a text message at the end of the day, let me know how it goes. So David walks into the meeting and he ends up closing 100% of the room. So 100% of the attendees that were there out of, I think it was like 75 people. Everybody there was an eligible person to sign up in the program, signed up. The only people that didn't were already enrolled in the program. And even people that weren't there that day heard about the presentation and they wanted to sign up in the program. And that's how powerful, guys, the mind is. And once he wrapped around his why, and that's what I'm asking you guys about, what your why, like why it is that you're here. Why is it absolutely important that you take on this information? And the best of all, guys, is this is all freedom, right? And freedom's fun, and you get to create whatever it is, for yourself. So literally, guys, imagine right now what financial, location, emotional time freedom will look like for you. And there I am in my freedom fighter costume, right? Literally, I was called by a friend of mine, John, and John calls me out of the blue, and he's like, hey man, I know we haven't talked in a while, but I got this event going on, and it's gonna be next week in Cuba. And I was like, really? I was like, well, who's all going and what's going on? And he's like, yeah, come on down, it's gonna be a blast. I was like, all right, cool. I was like, we're going to Cuba. No idea, who is I'm going to spend time with. I don't know anybody's actually even going to be there. And I found myself like literally getting introduced to like 25 amazing entrepreneurs. And literally these guys are superheroes in what they do. John actually does deals with like Richard Branson, and runs around in those type of circles, putting on $100 million deals. And yet he's calling me to ask me if I want to go on this trip with him. I'm like, hell yeah, I'll go on the trip. So the gentleman I got a chance to be friends with here in the picture you see, Iron Man, aka Daniel. Daniel actually runs a very successful $17 million a year information business around, I think it's numerology, right? So here he is running a very successful business, and he's just taking things to the next level. And we're just there networking, getting to know each other. Literally, this happened because my mind was clear, because I'm doing what my true calling is, because I'm tied into that. So I challenge you right now, if you're not doing what your true calling is, if there's something out there that's for you that you haven't tapped into yet, then the time is now to basically tap into that, right? And I want to help you tap into that today as we go through this presentation, okay? So here's the 4-step process, right? So I want you to write this down. If you got a pen or paper, this is a writer downer. There's a 4-step process, and its abbreviation is DART, right? Where you discover, right? Awareness, reprogram, and transformation. And we're going to go through that today, and we're going to do like a live example for yourself that helps kind of determine what that is. So again, the stands for discover, awareness, reprogram, and transformation, right? And I literally learned this after spending 10,000 plus hours, like helping business owners that are out there, like yourself, and literally just getting it down to a simple process, right? Okay, and literally, I've gotten to work with just amazing entrepreneurs that are out there. This is actually Matt Bazak for any of you guys in the internet marketing world. He's like one of the godfathers out there in the internet marketing world, helping people like Anthony and myself go out and actually make our mark on the world. And Matt has to say, is working with Daryl has been like Christmas. Working with Daryl will be one of the best decisions you'll ever make. So here wants to be a next like seven-figure, business owner that's out there. I'm talking about verified, like you've gone out and done seven figures in your business, and literally in the next like 12 months. For me, hey, I'm beyond that trick as well with you. I look forward to taking you down that journey and seeing where you're at. I'm looking forward to hearing from Anthony. From those of you who actually listen to this and take action today, those individuals that are going to be on that, seven-figure journey to get there. Who here is in the market for that? Who's here is up for taking their business to seven figures? Go ahead and put Y in the chat box. Anthony put in there, yes, absolutely. Jim's like on board, yes, yes, please. All right, awesome. You guys are following along, great. So our agenda today, guys, is I'm going to go through a couple different things with you. One is it's like the freedom test. It's how to discover what's been robbing you of your productivity, focus, and profitability to increase your freedom. All right, who here wants more freedom in their life, right? Put a Y in the chat box for that. Freedom optimizations is why you do things that are self-sabotage your success and how to break the habits that are costing you your freedom, right? Freedom process. We're going to the four-step process we just went over, and we're going to go do a live demonstration that literally towards the end of the call. So make sure you're sticking around for that. For those of you that leave early, you're not going to get a chance to do that, experience that. I've also got a special bonus as well. Literally, guys, imagine being a fly on the wall as I walk Joe to Jealous through the freedom process live. And you'll get a chance to follow along, go step by step through this process. And literally, this is a private, like one-on-one session I did with her. It's it's about a 2 hour recording of me walking her through this process as individual. Literally, this is something clients pay me like $1,000 to do. And she said, listen, I want to share this with the world because I realize how much of an impact it actually have on other people that are like myself who are dealing with those demons. And literally at the end, guys, I'm going to invite you to join me on my journey. I'll be making an offer on this webinar to help you create freedom consistently and get out of the stress, overwhelm, and worry so you can solve your money problems forever. All right. So, all right, I want to introduce you to a close personal friend of mine. So he searched his whole life to get his freedom and community back. After it had been taken away from him at the age of 9, his parents went through a messy divorce, leaving the family in shambles. He found out real quick what it was like to have absolutely nothing after having everything taken. Literally taking buckets of water from the neighbors to flush the toilets and candles to see at night. All this young boy wanted was to have his community back where he got his love. He would search for this years and years. He found it in sports. He played in high school, playing collegiate football for the U.S. Navy, eventually leading him one day into the U.S. Marines, where he would lead Marines in combat and bring them all home safe and sound, only to have it completely taken away one day, leaving him heartbroken, in tears, and lost, as he had to read about his Marines dying and not being able to do anything about it. He became enraged with anger and withdrawn, stepping away from what he loved. For the first time, he shied away from leadership, eventually leaving what he loved behind, vowing never to put himself in the same position again, only to find himself in the same situation again and again, and with each time becoming more frustrated and asking himself, why me? What did I do to deserve this? Why does this seem to always happen to me? How do I get out of this habitual negative loop? Then one day, a Navy SEAL shared a story of how he survived the bloodiest day in SEAL team history. The Navy SEAL shared in vivid details of what it was like to see his friends die that day, feeling hopeless and not being able to save them. He would carry this with him for 20 years. until he discovered a process that set him free, that he would pass on to this Marine, giving him peace for the first time, which set this Marine off on a quest to learn the secret of freedom. This Marine would travel the globe to become mentored by the world's elite masters of the mind without realizing why he was even doing it. He kept searching for further and deeper into the mind to find out why some people have all the success and others habitually fall short of their goals. He then went back and started helping strangers and his Marines find their visions that were lost to war, until one day a business owner asked him for help. And after he received the much needed help, he said, "Whatever else you are doing, stop. This is your true calling in life. I have clarity on what was holding me back and what is I now have to do with my life. I just wanted to say thank you, Daryl Hill, for stepping into your true, authentic gift." And this individual was True Oids that I actually was able to help. His quote here on the bottom is, "I would run before from what I loved, and now I run towards it. Thanks to Daryl working with me through the fears and inadequacies from my past. He's been given a gift and a brother of mine on this journey." Yes, that's right. I am that little boy, but I was still doubting my calling, so I turned to God. I sat and prayed the next day in church asking, "God, what do I do?" And then it spoke to me. Who here has actually been in church like that and literally been on your knees trying to figure out what it is? Maybe it was even church, maybe it was in a shower, maybe it was in bed before you're trying to go to bed at nighttime, and you're just wondering like, where does it, I'm supposed to go? And you're literally just absolutely lost. And like, if you can relate to that, just put a Y in the chat box, just so I know you guys can relate to where I'm actually coming from, because that's where I was at, guys. I was literally lost on my way, and I didn't know which direction was up. And I kid you not, that day the message as the pastor started to speak was, "Go forth and serve, and I'll take care of you." And literally, as I opened my, I opened the, you have the pamphlet that you get there in church, and I opened it up, and that's literally what it said. I'll never forget that. Here it was. I was confused. I was lost a little bit in my ways. I had been doing stuff for 3 years in another business, and God's sitting there telling me that I need to go forth and serve. And I did no idea what that actually even looked like. Who here has ever taken like a big leap of faith in their business, or possibly even doing what you're doing out there today? Who can relate with that? What I'm talking about? Because that's exactly the title of the sermon. Like I said that day, I sat there and listened with an open mind. What do you think happened next for me? Here, take a guess. What do you think actually happened next? Like, put in there, like, literally, what do you think happened next? So I'm just curious what you guys actually have to say, because I personally was blown away. I personally, my life absolutely completely changed. It was literally the next day I had a client. I didn't even know it was a client. It was a guy who reached out to me and he wanted help, literally dialing in what his community and what his messaging was going to look like, and helping him out with his mindset. And he asked me literally like, "Well, how much do I pay you for this?" And I'm like, "What do you mean?" And he was like, "No, I don't want to hire you." I'm like, "Huh?" And he's like, "No, I want to pay you for this." And I was like, pinching myself. I kid you not, less than 24 hours, God literally gave me this gift. And I was like, I came up with the idea of $1,800. Don't ask me where it came from. And he was like, "Sure, no problem. Here's my credit card." And like, I was like, "Oh my gosh." And I was like, wow, this happened once, then maybe that's just a miracle. But then literally it happened again, literally like the following day. And with that money I actually had, that was more money I had at that point in my life, like that I had in my bank. When I put those two together, was like 1,800. I don't know, do the math real quick, but it was around, $3,600. So I literally had them all of a sudden in my bank coming at me, that I didn't have to go like drive all over the country for. I didn't have to go door to door. I didn't have to go, hardcore closer, sell somebody or something like that. So literally people were just calling me because they wanted help. It was the same thing like happened over again. And that happened over and over again for literally for like years. And things really started to take off for me. Literally, I'm sitting here in a private jet that's my friend Sean Vosler. He literally helps people go from like 7 figures to 8 figures in like their webinars and all this stuff or whatever. I mean, the guy's absolutely amazing in what he does. He literally doesn't take on clients unless they've at least done $1 million in income in their business, basically online. So the guy's an absolute rock star. And here it is, I'm on a private jet with my friend Jason Myers, who's brought me and Sean along with him. And he's actually the one taking the picture because, we're on obviously a private jet. And literally my life just started to completely change. And I did this literally, guys, there's no email list, no products, no sales, just myself, literally just having conversations and who I was actually attracting because I had gotten rid of the blocks that were basically associated. So at that point, people started flying to see me. This is literally one of my clients here. This is a special guy. He's awesome. Tim Wambach literally flew in from Annapolis, from Chicago. He actually is from Chicago. I forget the Phoenix thing. I showed up literally in Annapolis and I run more than 5 miles in 5 years. Daryl worked through my blocks and I didn't realize I even had this Jedi mind tricks. I'm happy to say 2 days later, I left with having run 5 miles at a single time and the confidence to take my business on the road by myself. Because literally at the time, he had a business partner who's in a handicap wheelchair. And he was struggling with like seeing himself out there giving the presentations, and he speaks at like major colleges like University of Wisconsin, like high schools all around the country, talking about like handicapped kids and school systems and how to relate to them. He's a really special guy. And literally he went on to run, I think 300 miles after that. Like literally it was not even, he ran a marathon, but it's well beyond a marathon. He literally ran from like Orlando to Chicago or something like that, um, which was like crazy. And he called me along the way and just kind of updated me. And he talked about how much like, being with, spending that time with me and getting clear on his goals in his life just changed things for him. So literally, guys, just started things flying. And I found myself flying. This is Las Vegas. This is literally a little ball that's up in the sky. Who here has ever been to Las Vegas and ever gone into like the high roller, right? So this is one of the coolest things I got a chance to do when I was there in Las Vegas, which is hanging out with this group of people. And in this group of people, literally, these guys are millionaires. They've created millionaires. Some of these guys have done $1 billion in sales. This guy over here put together a $48 billion largest merger ever happen on the face of the planet. And here it is, like I'm the one helping them, right? And I found myself like pinching myself, like, how did this happen? You know, you're put in your situation where you're just like, wow, I can't believe I'm actually here. It's like this surreal moment. Well, guess what? Guess you're supposed to be there. You rate it. Like literally, you earned it, right? You did whatever it is. Like God put you there for a reason. And at that point, like I was asked the next day, after working with this individual here, Steve, I was asked to work with the group as a whole. And in this group session, I was able to help all these entrepreneurs get through like some major, huge like mindset shift for themselves. This gentleman here, Corey, actually, he's taking the picture. He went on to actually create a 7-figure business 2 times over right after we left. And he sent me a video testimonial thanking me for that, literally from a conversation I was having with him. So guys, my audiences from groups turned into audiences from stage. We were literally been asked to fly down and give presentations in front of large stages. This is a guerrilla marketing event. This is one of the longest running like brands out there online in like the business section. If you go to Guerrilla Marketing in Amazon, you'll see there's over like 50 different best-selling books that are out there. Literally getting invited to go to private only masterminds. This individual here, Peter on the right, he actually runs this mastermind in Las Vegas. They've run it for over 5 years, and they have some of the most highest elite entrepreneurs out there in the personal development space that help on mindset and money and everything else. And I found myself being invited by him personally to come out and spend the week with these individuals. This is my friend Blair, who's an amazing entrepreneur himself, runs a well over 7-figure business. And I'm helping with his family right now. So these are just some of the people I've gotten a chance to associate with, as well as getting invited to come speak and help out and work with the people of the group. And guys, I'm not sharing this to impress you at all. I'm selling to press upon you what's capable if you just step into your true authentic self and you get rid of any of these blocks that are holding you back. And that's exactly what I did. So literally, this is me. This is working with Amon's group here and Brady, 2 amazing entrepreneurs. This is the team we had for the workshop that we did for 3 days. And I watched people like literally that were there to transform their lives. And to play just a small part of that was just, tremendous. So I look to be able to bring that, as well to people that are out there that want to do that. And this is actually Steve, who I worked with, and I literally in one 30-minute session helped him get rid of like literally 30 years of fears that he had going on inside his mind. And Steve had me on the cover of his magazine just to thank me for that, for being out there. So I want to thank Steve for that. So he's got an amazing podcast as well that he's interviewed me on, to get kind of my message out there. So if you're looking to, hear about, different amazing entrepreneurs, Steve's got a whole like stable full of them. This is billion-dollar rainmakers that are out there, like Ira Rosen. Daryl worked with a group of us today, extremely gifted. His intuitive ability to tap into what is going on inside of you to help you move past your block, take your life to the next level. So if you get the opportunity to work with them, take advantage of it. I highly recommend it, and I respect and recommend them. So guys, dreams do come true, right? I did get all three kids to smile in this picture, right? Who here like literally has a young child now at this point, where you try to get them to smile and they never smile? I can so relate with that. I've got my son here; he's tough to get smile. So, and guys, literally, I got a chance to give back. We talked about giving back as well. I think Virtual was saying something about always wanting to give back. This individual here, Keenan Reynolds, he was actually a Heisman finalist. That year I worked with him. Also became the NCAA football touchdown record holder. Got a chance, and his big passion and dream was to go off and have an opportunity to play in the NFL, which he's actually fulfilling right now. So that was going back to my alumni, what I got a chance to play football at and give back to. And that was, a special moment for us. He had actually just broken the touchdown record in this picture, and we were getting a chance to celebrate with him. And guys, more and dear to my heart as well as the Marines that I served with in the military. This is actually Gunnery Sergeant Curtis Jones in the middle. He had just given the speech to the town of Annapolis, basically the city of Annapolis. He didn't have a service dog with him at that point in time. Bear was back, at the house. Previous to him meeting with me, literally he had to go around with a service dog everywhere he went, because he was scared of what he would actually do. And he literally had a round he was carrying in his pocket. And a round is a bullet. For you non-military individuals that are out there, a round is like literally a bullet you put in your gun to take your life. And he had carried around this bullet for like a long time. And it wasn't until he had, worked with me and dealt with his demons, that he no longer needed to carry this round around with him in his pocket. So literally he was able to kind of walk away from that. So let's dive into the information. Literally, let's have a little fun, getting it on board. But my warning to you first, guys, is if you ignore what I teach you, your life will continue as always, right? If you act on it, your life will completely change dramatically. And today could be day one of your new life, literally. You will enter a new consciousness of what's available to you, and you'll be free of worry. You'll be able to move through. So let's take a look at your life. Who here, put a Y in the chat box, who here is not satisfied with your financial position right now? Put a Y in the chat box if that's you. If who here is not at peace at what you've accomplished so far, basically in your life. If you know there's something out there for you that's actually even bigger, something that you want to achieve even higher, put a Y in the chat box if that's you. Who here is not happy with where you're headed? Maybe you're a little bit frustrated with the direction you're moving in your life. Maybe you're not leveling up to the field that you should be playing on, with the right people. Wherever that is, wherever you're actually heading right now in your life, put a Y if that applies to you. And do you have a nagging sense that your life is unfulfilling? I know for myself personally, I used to do life insurance annuities full time for 3 years, but I had gotten to the place where there was something that was unfulfilling inside myself, and I kind of knew what that was, but I couldn't put my finger on it. And that's when this opportunity to work with individuals like yourself and all these multimillionaires and guys who've done billions in sales came about. So I'm talking about complete freedom, guys. So never again will you have to concern yourself with money. When you learn, how to remove the money blocks that we're going to go over today, is you will have all you want, whenever you want, like literally, guys. Does this prospect of financial security sound attractive to you? Put a Y in the chat box. I want to see some Y's coming through inside of that, because if it does, guys, I'm going to dive into the meat of what we're going to get into today. All right, so Hugh here has taken away a little bit already, kind of identified maybe something about themselves with their why. All right, I want you to, again, dial back into that why. Why are you here? What is it that you want to take away? What's your life going to look like differently Super important, because there's three phases to getting into freedom, guys. And today we're specifically going to dive into removing your blocks, because that's the biggest phase that a lot of people just don't know how to do. There's people out there that maybe write down some goals, maybe they can create some systems, some marketing systems that are out there, but it's removing these blocks, guys. Until you actually remove these blocks, it's literally having a governor that's on like your car, that keeps you at a certain, like, keeps you at a certain mileage. You can't go over like 30 miles an hour, or can't go over 50 miles an hour. It's like having a governor on your income, right? It's like having a thermostat in your house, where it's like, hey, it's used to being set at 69 degrees, and if you wanted to go hotter to get to 72, you got to bump it up, right? It's the same thing, guys, like literally by removing these blocks. And that's why we're going to focus on that especially today. So where do blocks actually come from? All right, who here has an idea where blocks actually come from? Put a Y in the chat box if you think you know where blocks actually come from, as far as like that's keeping you at the current level you're at. All right, I'm looking over in the chat box. Cool. So guys, think about this right now. Where do you think, your freedom blocks actually come from? That's keeping you from the freedoms that we talked about, the 4 different types of freedom: the financial freedom, the location freedom, the emotional freedom, literally the ability to do anything you want. Think about that. Fear, okay, yourself, awesome. FUD, Philip. I don't know what that means, but I'm feeling it's probably funny. So if you want to type out what that means. Our conditioning, oh my gosh, you nailed it right there, Kim. All right. So guys, here's the secret. All right, I'm going to go away the secret. This webinar will be the most important of all information, the books, schools you ever visited, attended, trainings that you've ever invested in. So I'm literally about to display to you guys where that all comes from. And that's the most important part. Most people, in order to remove like a problem, you have to get to that root cause. And so we're going to dive into your past, right? All these conditioning and things that you're referencing over here, fear of uncertainty, absolutely. We're going to dive into that. And baking, guys, literally, that's a secret, right? That's a secret, because they say, right, that money can't buy happiness, but it can buy bacon. And that's pretty much the same thing, right? Who here can relate with that, right? Where people have heard in the past something that maybe affected their subconscious and they haven't realized it yet. Because, everybody has heard the terms of like, hey, money can't buy happiness, right? Well, money can also, but it can buy you bacon, right? It can buy you experiences. I've heard the great Les Brown say to me, it's like, money can't, people say money can't buy happiness, but I'm willing to find out for myself, right? And literally, money can't buy poverty either, right? Think about that for a second, right? Money can't buy poverty, right? So it's all in the mindset and what we actually attract. So literally, Jim loves bacon, awesome. So guys, we're doing right here is a little pattern interrupt around that, right? The biggest thing is, guys, guess what, right? It's happiness is just a thing that you could have no money or all the money, but I'd rather, have, money to live the freedoms I want in life, and then not have to worry about where I'm getting my next meal from, right? That's the big difference. So literally, guys, the frustration and depression that's out there, who here has been, frustrated or depressed in the past around money? Because there's plenty of people that are leading lives of quiet desperation that are out there. I was definitely one of them, right? Literally for years. For myself, guys, I want to share with you as we go through this process on where that actually came from you, for myself personally, and how that actually was draining me. But first, for most people, a huge amount of their misery revolves around money. You can't get enough of it. When you do, you can't hold on to it. The worst part is the worry is always there, ever present. No matter what you try, nothing relieves this constant torment, right? Who here's heard of somebody who's been a lottery winner, right? Somebody who won the lottery. I was listening today, literally to, it was a great book. It was this individual who actually already had like $1 million, and he happened to win the lottery, and he went up to like $300 million with his lottery winnings. And inside of this winnings, what ended up happening was he destroyed his life. He destroyed his relationships, his marriage. He destroyed everything about what was happening with him. Unfortunately, because of winning this lottery, he literally didn't have anything left to show for it, and eventually went bankrupt and caused all these kind of problems. Again, it came back to the that governor that was on his income. because he had all this money coming in. His mind all of a sudden had to get it back to where he was comfortable at being. And unfortunately, this took him all the way to the bottom. So it has that, has that effect, that yo-yo kind of effect that's out there. So if you've ever like making a bunch of money, all of a sudden you feel yourself being snapped back to where that was. It's like the information that's inside your mind. It's like, oh my gosh, I'm not even comfortable with this, So it's kind of like that weird worry that's in the back, and where our goal today is help you literally just shut that thing up for good, literally. So do you worry about money out there? Who here worries about money? Here, do you worry about making expenses? Do you worry about, where you're going to get your next car payment from, or your house check, or, possibly medical bills that are coming up, or, thinking about something that's going to happen out in the future, like school for kids, or, things of that nature. You're like, man, I don't know where I'm going to get the money to create all that stuff. So I'm going to start asking yourself that. Do you worry about welfare of those depend on? Do you worry about those, possibly like myself, I got 3 small kids, that I used to be concerned about, like, hey, where am I going to get the money from to pay for clothes? I remember going, I was absolutely flat broke. I remember going to like Ollie's to buy like, knockoff toys and stuff like that for Christmas. And literally, I just, I never let them go without, but I never let them see it, in me as well. So you worry about the amount of money you'll have in the future, say 10, 20 years from now. That what that means is, guys, I'm talking about, like, people talk about retirement and have enough money like later on, possibly if they leave their job, or their job gets, evaporated because of change in economy, or they all of a sudden get let go, or whatever it is, or, to have those money, does that stuff come up for you? How would your life, how would you like to eliminate all those wasted, energy basically from your life? How would you like to end your slavery to pursuit of money, right? How would you like, to create a strong and lasting, flow of money easily and effortlessly come into your life? Well, guess what, guys? You can start today, because I want you to imagine right now, right? Just kind of imagine, close your eyes for a second. Literally, I want you to imagine finally you can devote your energy to worthy aspirations instead of meaningless struggles. I want you to see yourself like in a worthy aspiration, something that you're truly passionate about. See yourself actually doing, and let these struggles start to just melt away. You can focus on the projects that you've always wanted, right? So you're seeing yourself doing those projects you've always wanted to do, but you never had got around to. Maybe you just didn't have the time, the money, the freedom, right, to be able to do those things. But now you can finally give that much needed attention to your relationship, right? Maybe it's that spouse, maybe it's the kids, maybe it's the family you have that you're constantly running out the door away from to get to a job that you don't even like anymore, right? And to only to come back at nighttime to barely see them before you have to go to bed again, before you got to come back and do it all over again, and have more time with that family and friends, that basically they're out there. Because guys, that's what life is. I mean, literally, we all have a dash, and we all have a beginning and end to that dash, and that dash is what's going to go on your tombstone, right? It's going to be what's on that plaque at the end of the day, of like, what did that stand for yourself personally? And I want you to imagine what that dash is going to be like once you're, released all these different, worries that are possibly there and things you were thinking about. And you can do whatever you want, whenever you want, right? With who you want, right? Just have fun, literally. So now come out of that, open your eyes back up, and how can you reduce stress if you are worried about money all the time? And stress, literally, guys, is one of the number one causes of like heart attacks and strokes and things of that nature, that a lot of times people don't think about and realize, well, how did that come about? Why is that person so stressed out? Well, oftentimes financial side of things, right? So how can you relax when your life is constantly in disarray around you and you don't have enough of it? The stress about money is the number one cause of divorce and health problems by WebMD, guys, one of the largest online, websites out there talking about, health. So guys, take that in consideration. How many divorces were caused? I mean, my divorce was mainly caused from financial reasons that it happened in a relationship. Because if I had a lot more money and things of that nature, things would be different stress-wise, and maybe we're able to deal with things that actually came up. So that's something to think about in yourself, is to see, what's out there. So that money worries that we talked about, like, destroys, like, families that are out there. I'll show you how you can never have to worry about the money side of it again. And guys, this is not woo-woo. I will show you step by step on how to create, freedom with your thoughts scientifically, and actual proof that you can do this We're going to do this live on the presentation today. So I want you thinking about in the background again, what is that why? What is that thing you want to focus in on today? Because we're going to focus in on that in just a minute. So this is not a law of attraction webinar, not some book or something like that, and you're not listening to somebody who can't balance a checkbook that's out there. Literally, guys, I hire somebody to do that. I'm literally going to share with you the freedom process, guys, on how you can go out and do it yourself and create that freedom. But what does money represent to you right now? I want you to think about that for a second. Get your pen and pencil out, all right? And I want you to think about that right now and put in the chat box, what does money represent to you? Like if you think about the original thought process behind you and money, where did that actually go for yourself right now? Think about that in your life and put it in the chat box. So you guys are dialing this in. Super, super important question about where this actually came from for yourself. Discover your first thought about money. What was it? What were you doing? That first thought about money, you saw some exchange of money. Maybe it was you got an allowance as a kid. Maybe it was a gift from your grandmom. Maybe you went out and mowed yards, like I did for myself back in the day, or rake leaves, well hours. What's that money actually mean from you, right? All right, what does that money, dial into? Just think about that real quick, right? Represents majority of people are out there security, right? Security is a big thing money actually represents, especially especially with women. Security is absolutely like paramount. It's one of their core subconscious needs, dating back all the way to the caveman era, right? Back in the day, like when we were cavemen, we literally had to go out and hunt for a living. So that security side of the thing was having enough meat. And if my mate at that point didn't actually hunt and bring enough meat home, then guess what? We're going to starve. And the winter's going to be bad. So that security side of things represents that. The same thing is people talk about bringing home the bacon today, like we talked about. It's the same thing, guys. Just bringing home the money side of things. So that's huge for the family side of it. A lot of families out there obviously are co-families now at this point. And do you get a sense of security when you have lots of money, right? Put a Y in the chat box if all of a sudden your bank account is way higher than it normally is, and you see a bunch of extra money in there and you're like, oh my gosh, I feel like this relief. And it doesn't matter if you got $1 million in there right now, or now it's at $1.2 million, or or $2 million, right? Or if you went from having $500 into your there to maybe it's at $3,000, and you're like, wow, I'm feeling really good right now about money, right? Who here feels secure when they actually have a lot of it, right? Doing my happy dance, right, Kim? All right, cool. So do you believe that you need a certain amount in the bank, right? Who here says they've got like the certain like meter of like, okay, if I had $10,000 in there, I feel comfortable, right? Ask yourself right now what that comfort level is in your in your life, in your bank account, right? And come up with what that number is for yourself. Like, what is that number for yourself? Ask your subconscious now. Say, hey, what is that number for myself right now that I'm going to have in my bank account, basically? And then write that number in the chat box if you like, or just put it down on paper there. But just keep that number handy. Okay, it's super important. All right, what that number is for yourself. And security, guys, is controlled by like that first chakra inside. For those of you that study any of the body side of things and do any yoga side, you'll notice there's the chakras inside the body, and that's where security is really located. And if it's overactive or underactive, you're basically going to have issues. You're going to have issues come up around the reproductive side of things. I've had, one of my clients was a woman who helped everybody get pregnant, and people will come to her after they've tried everything under the sun. They've never been able to get pregnant before, and they come to her and magically 6 months later they're pregnant. And she literally helps them, level out that first chakra side of things and helps them feel more secure, basically about where they're going to be at. So what is that amount? If you haven't put that in there, what is that amount for yourself that you feel secure? Super important that you kind of put that number down. All right. And the money side of things could be power, right? So do you see people that have money as powerful? Ask yourself that question real quick. What I mean by that is, if you see people with a lot of money, do you see them as powerful, right? Ask yourself that. And if the answer is yes, just put a Y in the chat box. Is your own personal power and self-worth tied to how much money you have or make, right? That's a big thing there, because oftentimes it's like a math equation, right? That personal power and self-worth are tied to how much money you have, right? And they keep you in proportion to that. So if somebody sees their self-worth as being very low, who here thinks they have a low bank account, right? Put a Y in the chat box if you think they have a low bank account, basically, if that's the case, right? So who here sees somebody, if they have a low, if you think, hey, the person has a low self-worth, do they probably have a low bank account? The answer is yes, guys. Literally, the person with a low bank account side of things, self-worth, is often going to have a low side of things when it comes to money. So money doesn't give you power. Consciousness gives you power, right? It's what you're able to do with that money that gives you the power. And what side of it, it's the consciousness to use it for the right reasons. There's a lot of people out there that have a lot of power but don't have any money, right? So those two really aren't related on that side of things, but it's the ability to actually use the money for the right reasons, because the inner wealth manifests the outer wealth side of things. What I mean by that is the inner sense of your being of like, hey, I'm worth X amount of dollars. I'm worth $1 million, and I should be getting that for my time. Then you're Tony Robbins, right? If you're like, hey, I'm worth, I'm a lawyer and my time's worth $500 an hour, then bam, people are going to pay you $500 an hour because that's what you feel that you're worth. So that's like, super important. That's out there, is understanding that. So money by itself is not problematic. Treating money as a problem serves no purpose, right? Worry about money has you creating a negative association to it, and your fears manifest much faster than your desires. So what does that mean exactly? Well, if you're focused on not having it, you know what you're going to create? More of not having it. If you're focused on having it in abundance and you're not concerned about like where it's coming from, then you're going to have it in abundance. And it literally is like that fine line of those little voices in the back of your mind that are playing themselves over and over again. They're like, oh my gosh, you shouldn't have this because you're this or that, or because this person said this about you, or because my old school teacher said I never would amount to anything, or my dad said this about me, or my brother-in-law said this, or my coach said this. You're literally, your subconscious is trying to live up to what all those people have actually said to you all these years. And I know, yeah, it's kind of wild and crazy, but that's really the way it works. And we're going to dive into like why that's the case here in a minute. So understanding what money is. If you look at $100 bill under an electron like a microscope, you're going to see it's all just subparticles. It's literally just energy, guys. Money is energy at the end of the day. It's literally the exchange of energy from one person to another. It's somebody seeing the value in something they can actually get and seeing a return back on that. Super important. It's all made up of the same thing. Money is literally a wave until you focus on it and get your attention to it, and literally create that money as an event. And that literally comes when you're able to put out your offer for what you feel that you're worth. And all of a sudden people come back to you that resonate with you at the same frequency, and they're like, yep, here you go, here's money for you. So money is made of the same things as your thoughts, right? So if your conscious is energy and your energy and consciousness, the matter of $100 bill is just vibrating slower than your thoughts. $100 bill is calculated thought of money. When you think you don't have enough, you manifest that reality, right? So bingo, right? Who here has heard some of these beliefs growing up as a kid, right? And we're digging into some of the stuff right now, guys. The debilitating beliefs that are out there. Who here has heard, we can't afford it, we don't have enough, I'm not good enough, I don't deserve it, money is the root of all evil, poverty is righteousness and holy? Who here has hold these daily? Okay, cool. Some people. Negative stored images, literally, guys. If you think about these things that are from your past, unhappy images make you unhappy, right? If you think about a time in your life right now you've been unhappy, right, about money, um, picture where that was. Sick images will make you sicker, right? So if you see yourself as being sick, you ever heard somebody talk themselves into being sick? They're like, oh my gosh, I'm not feeling well, and they just start down the spiral thing. And all of a sudden they find themselves like, getting sick and staying home and, checking out. I mean, that's the bottom line, guys. It's literally your mind will create whatever your reality is. So oftentimes people think about, a car crash for a long time, before you actually have one. If you look at, there's a car on the side of the road and it literally hit the telephone pole, but yet there's an open wide field right next to it. And you're wondering, why did the guy hit the telephone pole? Well, that's what he was concentrating on. He was concentrating on what not to actually hit. And every time your mind focuses on what not to do, your mind is actually focusing on what to do. So I'm gonna ask you guys a question real quick in the chat box. I'm gonna ask you, who here right now doesn't see, right? I don't want you to turn around and look, but I don't want you to look at the blue tree that's literally on the wall behind you, right? I don't want you to look at that blue tree and see it on the wall, right? I don't want you to do it right now. So who here on the chat box, put a one in the chat box if you saw a blue tree on the wall behind you. Like literally, put a Y in the chat box. Literally, guys, if you saw that blue tree that's on the wall, like, yep, absolutely. They're seeing it, guys. Super important behind this, guys, because the mind actually tricks you and it doesn't hear the not side of things. It doesn't hear the actual not word. So you find yourself literally focused on that blue tree, whether you like it or not. And your mind does the same thing here. So these stored images that are there inside your mind are tied to things that happened possibly earlier in life, your childhood, and things of that nature. And important feel for images. Guess what, guys? They lead to failure and keep you in poverty that are out there, okay? So if you control your images, you can control your hologram. And your hologram, guys, is just like your movie, right? It's the movie you play inside your mind. It's the people you attract into your life. It's the opportunities. It's why you're on this webinar. You literally have tracked this webinar basically into your life because you're open. You're open now to making a change, right? So by learning how to directly control the specific images you implant into your subconscious mind, you can assure that only positive realities take place, right? Right now, your subconscious mind holds very strong images about your success or failure, right? And that's why these, habitual loops have actually taken place along the failure side of things. So these images you have supplied for lifetimes. And literally, guys, you might have inherited some of these images from your parents, might have inherited this from other family members, from other people. Maybe it was the guy that did something to you, negative out there, or possibly that somebody hurt your feelings along the way. The key is to clear those negative images and then install what you desire to basically manifest into your life. Because negativity is the prominent attitude on earth, right? Greed, sickness, misery, starvation, and unhappiness are everywhere. I mean, you can't turn on the TV, you can't pick up a newspaper, you can barely walk down the street and not see this stuff actually taking place. I mean, who here literally can relate to that, where you see that on a daily basis, where every time you open up the front page of the paper, there's some negative crap on there, or every time you turn on the news, who here remembers last time there was something nice on the news, right? Like literally, guys, you're constantly tuning in to all this stuff, and it's causing poverty increase everywhere. Why is that? Well, the destruction images from the past held in the subconscious minds of people on the planet are being projected and manifested constantly. And people feed on this. They literally just tune in all the time just to watch the news or just to read the paper or just talk about politics. So they're good, bad, or different. It's crazy. Plus, literally, guys, is you don't know how to access and clear the hidden mind blockages, right? And that's also you don't know how to consistently manifest and program your subconscious for wealth, literally, guys, for success and wealth. And that's why you're habitually creating these same patterns like over and over again. And we're going to go into just a moment where these patterns actually are coming from and how to go back and actually reprogramming them. But first, you've got these conditionings and basically come from a child, right? So as children, our minds are in a theta state until around the age of 7. And today, the theta state side of things basically is that healing place. It's that place you're taking everything in. It's as if you had a blank whiteboard in front of you with a magic marker, and you color in whatever it is you want, and everything that went on that magic marker stayed on the board for the rest of your life. That's exactly what that young mind is. And there's nothing filtering anything that's going to go inside of that by our parents or by anything out there. All just going absolutely as truth. And that's why these impressions last into people's lifetimes and into adulthood. And that's why they pass these things on to other people. All right. So children who are told they are stupid or can't do something grow up to struggle in life. Studies now prove this literally. So think back when you were a child, right? Did your parents ever complain about money? Put a Y in the chat box if your parents ever complained about money. All right. Did they say people must work hard to earn a living, right? Who here heard that, right? Who here is now trying to live up to that, where you're literally trying to work constantly hard to earn a living? If that's you, put a Y in the chat box. Did they tell you that money was hard to get, right? Who here has actually heard that money's hard to get, right? And did their actions convey the feelings that money is a serious matter, where they actually wouldn't even talk to you? Like literally, it was like a secret what mom and dad are actually made, or we can't actually talk about it. Well, I'm here to actually share with you that that was the case in my household, right? So I was in that same child, I was that child, right? So if the answer is yes, all these images are stored at your subconscious level, right? You didn't notice it happening though at the time, but the messages got through and they left a cruel mark on your mind and your personality. And guys, that is the reason why you've been, where you're at. That's the reason where you've been hitting that glass ceiling, not being able to break through, because all these images are basically stored on the subconscious mind. You haven't cleared them up to this point. So we're going to go through here just a few minutes about how to actually clear them. Therefore, money is a problem, though. All right, once those messages and those images are stored as a younger, person, we conclude subconsciously that money is a problem. We hear from our parents and teachers that money is difficult to make and accumulate. An idea given to a child, even non-verbally, sinks quickly and easily through the subconscious level. Literally, as kids, guys, we read the body language, right? 97% of what people actually do is body language. So when you hear that, right, you think, wow, where does that actually come from? Well, if you're seeing your parent do one thing, right, let's say you're texting and driving, right? Well, when your kid grows up, guess what they're going to do? They're going to text and drive because they watched you do it. Even though you say, hey, don't text and drive, well, they're going to follow what you do, right? So the idea then manifests throughout your life, and that is why you make where you and millions of others have serious issues around money, basically, if that's the case for you. So once you're conditioning, you will get the output of what the conditioning is. The real world will validate your belief that acquiring money is difficult. Jobs and clients become hard to find and keep. Who here relates to these things that are up here on the screen right here? Put a Y in the chat box if that's you. If you've been out there and you're like, man, the clients are hard to get, I don't understand why I can't get them. I've struggled, paying my bills because I got a Y on that one, guys. I can barely make ends meet. We're literally, guys, you barely have enough money to put food on the table. You find, money impossible to save. We're like, man, I just can't save enough money to make it, feel comfortable, feel yourself actually getting rid of money. Money worries can storm you and you really fall into debt. Like, seriously, that's some nasty stuff right there. So how to tell if you have any money blocks is who here does not have all the money you need or want right now. Clearly, guys, who put a Y in the chat box if if you do not have all the money you want or need right now. Who here is concerned about money right now? Put a Y in the chat box. Who here has not solved all your money problems? Put a Y in the chat box. And this is forever, guys, right? So unless you're, Bill Gates or Richard Branson or somebody's out there has never have to worry about money again, that's definitely probably going to be a Y in there. Guys, it's so important to dial in what that is. Because if you don't dial it in, you'll never be able to fix it. And if you've answered yes, then I have a proven that this moment you are storing negative images in your mind, images that poison your thoughts about money yourself. The first time I actually learned about this, guys, is I had this mentor of mine do what's called the doo-doo test. I'm thinking, what the hell is doo-doo test? Well, doo-doo, doo-doo, right? And he tried to muscle test me and give me money at one point, and he tested me, and I basically didn't want money at this point. And it was one of those things where subconsciously, it was repelling it. And soon as literally he was able to break me of that, is when I literally broke out and just start flying at new heights and different levels. Because I saw money as just a tool of energy and able to help other people. And that was super important for me. So who here manifests, literally about the same amount of money each and every month, right? If you've made about the same each and every month, think about that right now. Look in your past 12 months in your bank account, whether you're working at a job or you're working on the personal side, who here is manifested about the same amount every month that ends up in your account? Who here finds a way to get rid of almost spend all your money, no matter how much money you make, right? Put a Y in that chat box if that's you. Literally, you're almost spending everything that comes in. Put a Y if that's you. Who here seems stuck at a certain financial thermostat or governor and can't seem to break out of this, no matter how many businesses or trainings you take? Literally, guys, imagine this is your first training to basically take on this. So guys, if that's you, put a Y in the chat box if you can relate to these things that are coming up on the screen. How many people here, you can't seem to ever hit your financial goals no matter how much hustling you do. Ever heard of the person like, oh, I'm grinding, I'm grinding, but you just never kind of hit that financial goal you set out for yourself? We'll put a Y in the chat box that relates to you. You worry about money most of the time and it consumes you. That's always something that pops up. And you have irrational fears about being homeless or losing everything, and run those fearful movies in your head where you're like, man, if I don't make this happen, then I'm literally just going to be homeless again, right? That's stuff that legitimately pops up. So guys, we're going to do a little test right here, right? I want you to take your monthly goal that you have last month, right? So I want you to have the monthly money goal that you have for yourself, right? So if it's like, hey, if it's like $10,000 a month that you want to make, put $10,000 basically in there, right? So if it's I'm gonna actually use the pen here. I'm gonna try to draw. So if it's $10,000 for yourself, right? Let's just keep math for Marines here. Put that in there. And put in the chat box right now, what is that money number you have for yourself is like your monthly goal, right? Put in the chat box. Okay, good. Robin, awesome. See that? Guys, I won't read out your numbers, but I'll just read out names and numbers and stuff. I'll just read out the numbers that are coming in. I got people putting in 10,000, 20,000. Cool. What is your number, right? What is your monthly income goal right now that you have for yourself? Put it in the chat box. Make sure you guys hear that. 3,000. Awesome. 10,000. 10,000 pounds per month, right? 10K to start. Awesome. Guys, this is so important. If I asked you right now, if I said, guys, I'm in, Philadelphia, in Pennsylvania, in the United States, and I said, here's the address, what's the first thing you'd probably do, right? You go out on Google, type that in, see where it's at in the world, right? If you got to buy a plane ticket, you're going to get to the city. And then once you flew from the city, let's say you're coming from London, right? You fly into Philadelphia, you get your national flight, land, you get to the airport, you get the rental car. First thing you're going to do is put up your Google map, right? Well, you're going to put in your GPS. And then once you have that GPS in there, it's going to help you, know how long it's going to take you to get here. It's going to reroute you if there's some kind of traffic jam, right? So guys, why is it right now that people are listening to this webinar haven't actually put the number in there about what their income goal is, right? What that monthly income goal is for themselves? Because that's no different from you putting in the address on how to get to where I'm at in Philadelphia. It's that simple, guys. So I want you to take that number that you had, right? So I got Anthony, cool. I got Ryan in there, Richard, Daryl, awesome. Fired up for you guys, all right? So I want you to take last month's income now. Take a look at, and I don't know exactly the number is, you don't have to call your accountant right now, but just take a guess, what was last month's income for yourself, right? So let's say it was 5,000, right? In this case here, let's say this person here brought in $5,000 last month, but their income goal was actually 10,000. Okay, so put in the actual amount of money that came into your account last month that you were blessed with because of the value you put out to the world. All right, and in this case, we're just going to use 5,000 numbers, math for Marines, keep it really simple. All right, so as we look at that number right now, where did I get that from? Well, if you just go back and you ask yourself, well, how much did you bring in last month? Yeah, how much money did it actually send into you? So you take that 10,000 minus 5,000, you're basically left with 5,000 right here. Okay, so as you look at this right here, right? Okay, cool. That is how much it is costing you to have those money blocks, right? How much it's costing you to have those money blocks that you have. For this individual, it's costing them $5,000 a month, right? And not knowing how to literally consistently manifest all the money they want in their life. So why is that important? Well, if this person keeps this problem next month, it's another 5,000. If they keep it for a year, it's $60,000. This is a $60,000 problem basically that this individual has. So I want you to take your own number that you have for yourself, right? And I want you to figure out what that is, right? Figure out what that, that difference is, problem. In this case, it would be a $60,000 problem, right? And it's yearly, right? A yearly problem. It's not like a one and done, right? So this person has a $60,000 yearly problem they're facing. And ask yourself right now, what is that? How much that amount? So I want to hear your literally, what is it costing you like per year to have this problem right now? Put in the chat box so I can see what that is for yourself. Again, guys, this is super important because you want to identify how much is actually costing you, right? And this is just the financial means. I'm not talking about the people that are out there that need your products, services, and what you're actually really here, called to do for the planet. But it's like, what is that for you? What does that equate to? How many more lives could you be affecting, if you got that, money block basically fixed, right? Because this money block right here is causing $60,000 for this person. So when you look at your math right now, some people are saying 24,000, some people have 200,000, right? Those are huge numbers, guys. And they are in my world. If that was $24,000 missing out of my bank account or 200,000 missing out of my bank account, I mean, that would be a huge number for myself. Some people, $348,000 missing out of their bank account. Those are huge, huge numbers. So guys, I want to welcome you right now. That it doesn't have to be that way anymore. Okay. I've literally got to learn how to clean the screen here, right? Erase all drawings. There we go. And like literally, be like the great Les Brown, right? Why you guys listen to me to talk about this stuff? Is Garrett, as this is Les Brown, right? One of the biggest, most influential speakers on the planet around mindset and working with people. And he calls me literally his mindset master, person to take you in and tap you into a place of sanctuary of your soul to allow you to have experience peace past all like human understandings that are out there. All right. So I consider that like a huge blessing to be able to even work with Les Brown, let alone for have him to like give me a like testimonial like that. So my journey with money blocks basically is default answers growing up, and hearing we can't afford it right now, or we don't have the money, or afraid to ask for money. Who here heard words like that in their household? Who here heard some of these type of words like they were in their household, right? So afraid to even ask for the money, or the day that changed everything when I made a decision, really is what I notice with other people like around me, right? So guys, that's the biggest thing, guys, is dialing what it is. So I found myself like becoming like an avid like reader, like reading all the books possible on this stuff. I found myself like, visualizing, and affirmation side of it didn't even sound right. They didn't, do it like consistently and work for me. So I had to dial it in like even further. And every once in a while something would manifest, but it was like haphazard. And the stuff would kind of happen here or there, but it wasn't like on a consistent basis. And I wanted consistency in life. Who here wants more consistency in life, especially when it comes to money flowing in, into the bank account, right? So put a Y in the chat box that's you, that speaks to you, and you're like, yeah, that's right, that's me. The more clear I became, and the higher my frequency, the more opportunities I attracted for myself. And I want you to have that same, attraction side of things, right? Literally, the frequency just shifted. And the physics, behind the money side of it, the attraction force, right, and the repellent force is an equal force. If it depends which one you actually feed, right? So if you feed that attractive force, you're going to get more of that. If you feed that repellent force because you're thinking negative thoughts because you haven't cleared some of these thought forms and the things that happen when you're a kid, then you're going to attract some more of that. So in order to manifest more money, you must increase your attractive force and reduce your repellent force. What repels money? Your thoughts. What attracts money? Your thoughts, right? And the key is how to control of what is being projected from your subconscious, right? So money again is like a hologram, right? There's a book out there called The Holographic Universe, written by Talbert. It's the first book where I finally got it. Literally, it was like, oh my gosh, I realized, how the thoughts I have in my head are projecting what's actually happening to me now, and it's what we brought me on this webinar today with you guys. It's what brought our conversation I had with Anthony together. So I thank you for the opportunity to come on and actually share these things with you guys. So I realized, required to master this so I can manifest my desired results and what was actually going to happen in my hologram like in the future. And that was that movie. Literally, guys, it's the movie that's happening right in front of you from the thoughts you're actually having. So I studied every book, quantum physics, eventually interacting with mentor with Toby Alexander. That's one of the guys who really dialed that in for me, which was like super excited for me. So before I go into actually the live process I have with you guys, is I want to ask right now if there's any questions. I want to take any Q&A that's actually in the questions you guys have for me, and then we're going to do a live like transformation side of things. I'm going to walk you through the process I have. So I really want to dial that in for you. So if you have any questions right now, go ahead and put them out in the Q&A box. And as you're doing that, I'm going to pull up my mind map side of things, which I love to do. I'm going to pull that up in the background. We're going to mind map some of this out right now live. All right, any questions whatsoever that's coming in? That's basically dialing in on that. All right. So the first thing I want to do is kind of share with you a little secret here. I've asked you guys like over and over again, like, why are you here? Why are you here? And it's super, super important to actually dial that in right now. And I want you to ask that question again, is like, as we look at like why you're actually here, it's super important because you got to know where you're going. And I'm going to start sharing my mind map here for you guys. Just give me 1 second as I pull up my other. Okay, cool. So my question for you here, as you see it up on the screen, is why are you here? As I asked for you guys like over and over again, is I want you to think about like the things you want to do. I want you to list out 3 places right now that you'll be in the future. Now that you've actually let go of the money block that you were holding on to. Decide what that money block is you want to focus into. Is it something that somebody said to you in the past? Is it something that, you know, maybe it was like for myself when I was a young child, I saw my life just like totally turn upside down, like I shared earlier, and the stuff just disappeared from out of the window, under the grass, and I found my parents like getting divorced and going through a huge fight, and I found myself retreating and going out and hiding in the woods. And then I then basically picked up on this fact of money being like, you know, the root of the evil side of things, because we had literally lost everything, and I associated having financial success with pain. And when I associated that, then all of a sudden my subconscious then projected that. So I literally, every time I got close to having ultimate success in financial or in business or, you know, just anywhere in my life, I literally self-sabotaged it, which really, really sucked, obviously, because there was a lot of times where I was like, man, it would be really great to enjoy that amazing vacation or this and that or whatever, and just literally get wiped away. So go ahead and list out 3 places that you have for yourself 1, 3, and 5 years out. And what I want you to do is put those different places out there, okay? And I want to share with you as you're thinking about those 3 different places you want to be at in the future. I want to go through this quick story with you around the monk. So literally, it was a monk, and he was walking through the village. And as this monk was literally walking through the village, he ended up um, getting yelled at by this guy. This guy totally ran into him and started screaming at him and was trying to give him, you know, all his negative energy. And it was like literally just screaming at him and trying to get him to pick a fight with him. And who here has been in a situation like that where you've had somebody trying to pick a fight with you in your life, and you're like, man, I was like, this person can just go away. I don't need him anymore. Put a Y in the chat box if that's you. If somebody's ever tried to like, you know, pick a fight with you, and you're like, no idea who this person even is or why they're trying to pick a fight, or maybe they're just having, you know what's going on, right? So that's what's happened to this monk. And instead of actually internalizing, instead of him taking on all this like negative emotion, energy, the monk simply turned to this guy and he said to him, listen, he's like, if somebody went to give you a gift, whose gift would it be if the person didn't receive it, if they didn't take it from you? So I'm asking you guys right now, whose gift does it belong to? That this guy is giving all this negative energy over to the monk. He's trying to give him all this anger, all this frustration. Who does the gift belong to? Right? Does it belong to the monk, or does it belong to the guy with the nasty attitude? Right? And very simply, guys, it belongs to the guy with the nasty attitude, because the monk just said to him, hey, listen, it's like, you can keep that. Like, I don't need it. Like, it's your gift. And just kept walking. And literally, the reason I'm sharing with you guys is there's people that have given you their gifts, that have robbed you literally blind, and you didn't even know it. And I want you to think about one of those things right now, one of those things that actually in your life. Yeah, that's right, Jim, that's the attitude. I want you to think about one of those things in your life right now and where that actually comes from, right? And this is a process I've covered. I talked about DART, right? So I want you to think about that nasty attitude, or where that actually was for yourself in the past, especially around money, guys, because that's what we're focusing on today, is to focus on what's that first block that comes up for myself. And put in the chat box, guys, where that time is for yourself. Be writing this down on paper. If you don't have a paper, just use the chat box for now. It'll help actually keep all your notes for yourself. And just put in there that discovery about where that place was for yourself that you determined where that negative thing actually happened. So let me know when you got that in there. Childhood, awesome, cool, absolutely. It was childhood for myself personally as well. So think about where that is and just say, hey, subconscious, like where did that come from? And I want you to, where is it now at this point? Daryl, Richard, Sam, Jim, everybody's listening in right now. Where is it right now? Did I become aware that this thing's actually happening? Right? Where does it become aware? And I want you to ask yourself that real quick. When do I get upset? When do I let that guy, get under my skin and actually take that gift of having that thing happen around money with myself, right? Where does that actually come from for myself? And I want you to dive in and ask yourself that question. And as you're doing that, just get some clarity on where that is. And now at this point, even go a little bit deeper and ask yourself, like, where is it that I'll be, now that I realize that that's not going to be me anymore, right? Ask yourself where that's actually going to be at. Where will I be once I've actually moved past that? And how it is will I feel around whatever it is in the future? So the next time somebody says, let's say hypothetically, somebody says money doesn't grow on trees, right? Somebody says that to you, whatever that phrase is, or does something, or whatever it is. How are you seeing it now? And you're like, you know what? Money does grow on trees. I happen to own one of those, a money tree, right? It's actually sitting on my counter. And ask yourself now, where does that for you? Where is that looking in the situation, right? And it's so, so important to do that, right? And as you're doing that, I wanted to ask yourself one more question about that. If there's something you basically maybe been holding on to, something that's an injustice to yourself, something where it's like some gain you get out of actually having whatever that thing is, right? Ask yourself, what is the gain from money not growing on trees, right? What am I actually gaining from that in my life? Like, ask yourself whatever that phrase is for yourself, kind of dial that in. And as you're looking at that right now, you're going to see that for yourself for the first time and realize, that, hey, you know what, this isn't exactly a benefit for me. Maybe it's, if you're like, somebody else I worked with recently, and the person literally, by not putting their stuff out there, they didn't have to worry about being criticized. Is it that you're hiding yourself because you don't want to be criticized, or because you don't want to make yourself a target to being attacked again by somebody else out there? Is it because, maybe you're scared, or you have some kind of fear associated with, taking the plunge and launching this program or business, or maybe you have some self-doubt associated with it. So by not launching it, that it allows you to keep that self-doubt, right? This is that subconscious side of things that's been holding you back and stealing money literally out of your pocket. It's this benefit. And I want you to ask yourself, is that benefit greater than my why? Is that benefit for myself greater than those 3 kids I have? Is that benefit, greater than the fact of getting help to go out and serve the countless number of millions of entrepreneurs and veterans that are out there that need my services to help kind of get to the next level at this point for their life? And the answer is no. The absolutely answer is absolutely not. So now I want you to see yourself at this point, seeing that transformation. Now you've actually moved past this, and you're out in the future, and you're doing what it is that you love to do. You're experiencing, that experience now at this point for yourself. And you're literally launching into that. And I want you to go ahead and see that at this point, see what that looks like for yourself, and kind of dial in that transformation for yourself. And guys, if you could share in the chat box with me, you know, that place you've actually gone to, so I know where it is. When I hear from Anthony and I hear from you guys here in the future, I want to hear where you went, because it's kind of cool to then see it happen right now, to hear the sounds that are actually there, to see the people that are associated with it. I want to hear where you guys actually went now. So, we have this here. It's just you and me. so I can check in with you guys here in the future and see where you guys actually went to go further deeper into this. It's super, super important for doing that. Because guys, this is just the tip of the iceberg when breaking through that financial glass ceiling that you have for yourself that's been there. I want to see who else is on there. Okay, cool. So in the process, literally, guys, you've now dialed in. You've discovered, where that money blueprint actually started for yourself, right? You're becoming aware of when you're robbing yourself, right? In the process, you're reprogramming around how you feel in the future when a situation like that actually comes up for yourself. And now you're seeing yourself in a different light. You're seeing yourself, being this, attractive magnet side of things, because your productivity is increased, because your profitability is now increased, because the difference you're actually making is increased, because the why that you have is so much greater and far outweighs the inaction that won't happen. And I wanted to ask yourself this question as well: is if I don't do this, what will actually happen to my life? If I don't take action now and I don't master my money mindset around this, what will actually happen with my life, right? And I want you to ask yourself that question and think about it right now. And as you're listening to this and focusing even further, ask yourself, well, what if I do actually take action, and put this into use, and I take this information I've learned today and I dial it in. What will change now in my life dramatically that will help other people that are out there? And as of helping other people, the law of reciprocity and the value side of things will come back, and it will fill my bank account, just like, turning water into wine, and you go to, feed armies and millions of people with it. I worked with a client the other day, and they had the realization there's like 8 million people that need their services out there to be able to help. You might start out with just having your having that relationship, with somebody in your family and mending that first, which is just amazing in itself. Maybe it's mending the relationship you have with yourself around money, especially first. I mean, that's what I had to do. I just started out with myself, and then once I worked on myself, I was able to then take it and work with other people. Absolutely, child and divorce. Okay, so we got people in here. I have let go of the poor relationship with money and find myself attracting more into my life. That's awesome, Kim. Thanks for sharing. So guys, that's super, super important. It's out there. So who here is taking value away and has a better understanding about where their beliefs around money come from, and how this actually works and how to dial it in for themselves, where they can literally, reprogram their minds now when it comes to raw money, and they can see why the past thoughts and the images they've stored in their mind have literally been robbing them. Just put a Y in the chat box if you can definitely, see that now. If you have questions right now, now's a great time to start to ask those as well. Really want to hear from you as well. That way it gives me a better understanding of what I need to work on to better help you guys. So if you're getting value out of this too as well, just put a Y in the chat box as well. I literally want to help share this with you as well. So put a Y in the chat box if that's you, if that you can relate to that. Just put a Y in there so I know that. Okay, wow, super value. Thank you. Awesome. Appreciate the feedback, guys. So I got some secrets for you guys, some literally just amazing, really cool stuff for all you guys who are still on the call. Make sure you stay with me here. I'm going to go over that here in just a moment. I'm going to share with you literally a call that I did. It's literally $1,000 session I did with a high, level 7-figure entrepreneur that reached out to me to actually ask for help. And the coolest part is after she did that, she's now literally just taken off with her business to the next level. So I want to share with you guys. I'm going to share with you that link here in a minute in the chat box. So please make sure you get that. Before we do that, I want to go over what I call like literally the freedom fighter lifestyle side of things, guys. And as I do the view on this, put it in presentation mode. Give me 1 second. View. I got to name it. So guys, I'm just going to go over this real quick with you. So literally, guys, what I'm doing right here is I'm going to go over, and my offer to you today is literally, and this is only just because you're here working with Anthony. This is no joke. Like literally nobody else is seeing this. As you can see, I'm pretty raw when it comes to this stuff. I'm not one of these high, crazy webinar people or trying to say a bunch of stuff you don't need. Literally, if this speaks to you and this is something you want some help with, put a Y in the chat box. If it's not, then it's totally cool as well. Again, I will be giving you that gift here in just a minute. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to teach this live, guys, on how to create literally a limitless mind. How you create a limitless line is getting rid of any of the negative thought forms that are there in your life, whether it's around happiness, health, or wealth, in all the different areas of your life. I'm talking about getting rid of anger. I'm talking about getting rid of any issues you may have with like a spouse, even that you're holding on to, that's causing problems in your relationships. That's the crazy part, guys. A lot of this stuff, it goes hand in hand. Maybe it's somebody in your life that you've had some money issues with that have created negative thought forms that have happened in your life. And then building your freedom flow, right? What does that look like for you? What does that foundation look like for you, that once you have this built, you'll be able to literally build a skyscraper? And that's the important part, is to making sure your foundation is actually built correctly, because as far as the building goes up, literally, guys, is you have to make sure it's got that foundation underneath it. And then designing what your dream life basically looks like, in all the different areas that you have. There's 8 different core areas in your life that you have, and we'll be going in and help you actually design what they are in each of those different areas, along with installing like healthy habits, how to relieve yourself of any bad habits that are basically out there, in order to create the healthy habits, right? You got to get rid of the bad ones, in all areas of your life. And then creating that crystal clear vision, so you are literally waking up every day and you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. You're moving in that flow state. You're at a place where you're just being authentic. You're just out there enjoying it, attracting people in your life like I've done. My goal really honestly is to give that to you. I'd like to give you the opportunity to network with people that I have as well. So that's something you're going to get from working with me, is literally one connection I can make from you. Literally, blow your business up and skyrocket, in a crazy direction. As well as I'd like to get to know you individually as well, so I can look to work and support you in any way I can. And really, it's important to discover your true authentic gift, right? And oftentimes people are not possibly even doing that. Maybe it's one of those things where it's just going to hit you like a hammer on the head, and you're like, oh my gosh, it's actually here. Or you find yourself doing something you never realized yourself can be doing. I got invited to actually start and help a business in the insurance side of things, with helping them actually with their marketing and their messaging, and getting their presentation like dialed in, and dialing in further. And it's been a tremendous opportunity and stuff. I'm talking about like crazy amount of money is going to be made from working inside this company, and the lives that are going to be changed because of it, because of what they're doing. So I'm super excited to have the opportunity kind of flow my way. But it's because I'm doing what my true authentic gift is. And I find it's like if you're in your lane where you're supposed to be at, then things actually flow to you instead of away from you. Literally, guys, it's bonuses I already have actually done. I've got the money block system inside of there, where literally money blocks stands for, like literally you've got like 11 different um, 11 different money blocks. Like literally, if each of these is an acronym for a different block. Don't have time to go into all of them today. But the biggest one being like the self-sabotaging side of things. And after sitting down with countless number of entrepreneurs and masterminds and flying around and working on these 7-figure to 8-figure entrepreneurs, I've dialed in what those common money blocks are. So no matter what level you're basically in, I go through on how to actually discover them and break them in a process. And we have a 90 days to freedom training. We've literally take a group of entrepreneurs through 90 days of helping them get to that freedom side of things for their own life, and to basically create what that is for themselves. So I've done that, and you have it all like recorded. You get a chance to go back and watch people doing live transformations with me, which people are actually just enthralled with. It's actually really cool, and they share and send emails to me and share about how I've changed their lives. Is some of the testimonies you've actually seen today. And the meditation side of things. These are literally, guys, I've got dozens of meditations that are in there that people listen to on a daily basis, and tune in basically to help themselves tune out all the craziness that's out there in order to actually magnetically attract into their lives the things that increases their, their income, their productivity with their profitability. And I'm going to do a live one-on-one session with you. And literally that's what I charge $1,000 for now, guys, for clients that reach out to me everywhere from Australia, New Zealand to, Japan, I have clients like all over the world, in the UK to Europe to United States, Canada. It's crazy. I found myself really lucky to have this. So this is truly, truly, honestly only open to Anthony's group. And I do mean that, guys, because I don't have enough time to give out to people out there. But Anthony's been a really great friend of mine for quite some years now and helped me out in business, and he's helped so many other people. So I saw that as an opportunity to kind of give back to him. He doesn't even know I'm giving all this stuff to you guys. He'd probably call me crazy if I did. But literally, guys, you add all that up, it's like $9,000 worth of stuff right now. Normally, guys, it's like $5,000 even just to do the workshop. But I'm just doing this for Anthony's group, like I talked about, for $2,500. Literally it has to be for the right people. And who's this for? This is for people that really are going to take action and do the work and do the assignments and things I actually laid out for them. Each week there are going to be assignments to do for the following week. Each week is going to build on the next week. It's super important that you take the time to actually go through and do that. If this actually speaks to you and you're like, man, I was like, I can relate to this. I was like, this is stuff I've actually, taken away. But I basically, now I'm ready to move forward, then yeah, just put a Y in the chat box so I know who those people are. And I'll make sure that I send out the link as well. I'm going to go get the link for the recording that I have as well, so you guys get a chance to go through that. And also it has the recording here for you guys to go through and do this with me. So guys, I'm just super excited to be here today and get a chance to share my true God-given gift with you. And I look forward to connecting you those individuals that feel this is the right fit for for them and the program that I have. And if it is, great. If it's not, I hope you guys took a huge value away from what I was able to offer you guys today with education side of things, and honestly just speaking true from my heart. So I literally put this information to you as well between going to my appointment here to see my mom and going back right after I finish this to go spend the rest of the day with her, because I have created a freedom lifestyle. I'm able to do that. So I just wanted to kind of share that with you guys. So guys, I really appreciate you guys coming out. Let me go ahead and get that link for you guys. They're in there. And if you have any questions at all, make sure you're firing them in the Q&A box so I can take a look at those. Let me get that link for you guys. So I'm not sure if we got Anthony. Can you hear me, buddy? Anthony's on there. Should be coming back on. Cool.
I'm here.
Awesome. Yeah, man. So guys, any questions you guys have, and please
So
let me know.
what's the link, Darrell?
Yeah.
Can you put it on the screen as well?
Yeah, I'm gonna put it in the chat box right now. So the guys, the biggest thing again, the takeaway is to make sure that you're taking action. For the people that are like, man, you're sitting on the fence, like who you're like on the fence, like, man, I'm not sure if this is for me. I'm not sure if it's the right fit. I'm not sure what, I should be doing this. You got some questions you want to get answered. Just like literally, guys, let me know like what they are, so I can help you guys get off the fence. Because I'll share with you like a real close personal story to me. I found myself where I literally did not have like, I think I had less than $500 in my account, and I was sitting there, and I was frustrated. Now I was at that place in the beginning of my journey. I put the link in the chat box, guys, for those of you who are coming on board. And as I sat there looking at my computer screen, and I sat there seeing the seeing this webinar I was looking at, and I was watching this, and there's this guy named Russell Brunson, and at the time, I had learned about him, and I had seen this presentation in the past, but there was something different about watching it this time. It was just an authentic side of things. I could tell he was actually doing what he was truly called here to do, and I connected with him on that video, and the gentleman called me on the phone, and he called me up and literally he said to me, he's like, you know what? He's like, you don't have enough money. You're just you shouldn't be here and blah, 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 and this and that or whatever. And it's like, I can't really take you seriously. Because I told him what was going on in my life at the time. I told him I was going through a divorce. I was telling him that I had lost everything. I told him that all my credit cards were gone, and I didn't have access to that and this and that or whatever. And the guy totally looked at me like I was a total time waster. And I said to the guy, I don't know, well, I still want to do your program. And the guy said, well, no, no thanks, and hung up the phone on me. And I was like, wow, I was like pretty dejected at that point. But the crazy part was I had watched the presentation that Russell had put together, and I actually filled out 2 applications. I didn't even realize it. Isn't that crazy? I filled out 2, and as I sat there, um, and as I did that, I realized that it was actually meant to be for the person I was going to get on the phone with next. Because the person who called me next was literally from the same office, it was the same information, and the gentleman actually shared with me. Um, he shared with me literally how I had like spoken to him and what was going on in his life and how he had been on like a similar journey. And I could just relate it with him, picked up on him. And I said, listen, dude, I was like, I don't know what it is, but you guys put some jerk on the phone with me before who was trying to like cripple my dreams. And I'm not going to stand for it. So if I'm going to just talk to you, that's cool, but I don't want to talk to anybody else. And the guy said, yeah, no problem, or whatever it was. So I was looking at this investment, and the guy said it was like $25,000. And literally, I had about $500 to my name at this point. Not even that. I mean, like, literally, it was less than that in my bank account. And guys, make sure you stay on here, because after I tell the story, I'm going to put in the link that goes over to the recording that you guys can actually watch. The one I did with helping Jody the other day. So as I sat down and I listened to this gentleman, and he kind of spoke to me, and I told him what's gone on in my life, and I said, listen, I was like, I will have the first investment back that I can make on on like I was like 2 weeks later or something like that. I was like, I can come up with the first amount in 2 weeks from now. And he said, okay, great, So I said, call me back on this date. I'll have the initial investment, because instead of paying $25,000 at one time, the guy told me I could put down. I said 2,000 when he said, how much can you put down? And he said to me, he's like, listen, I can't do 2,000, but can you do 2,500? And I was like, man, that's like an even bigger stretch. I was stretching at 2,000. Here it was. I'm looking at my bank account. I don't even have $500. And he turned around and he said to me, he's like, yeah, I can. I was like, you know what? I was like, God wants me to be here for this. I was like, I'm gonna put this down, $2,500. I'll have it. Call me back on this date. So 2 weeks later, a guy calls me back, and he says to me, hey, listen. He's like, how's things going? This and that. Where I was like, it's going great. I was like, the money I put out to make is what I made. I've actually got like $4,000, so I have enough money to pay you, and actually have enough money to pay my rent, and pay my bills, and we can keep moving. He's like, awesome, absolutely. You're gonna be thankful for this investment. I was like, I'm praying to God I do, and I put down $2,500, not knowing if I'd ever actually get it back or not. And I turn around, and that one investment that I made, I found myself surrounded around these entrepreneurs and surrounded around these people, these just different mindsets that I've ever been exposed to. And these guys are making millions. And I'm just like, wow, it was like a fire hydrant. I'm just learning from everybody that's there. And then I found out like that they love the stuff I talked about with like helping out with the money side of things and coming over through all these blocks. And I was able to actually listen to the people in that room, even people like Russell Brunson, and I was able to determine like what blocks they actually had and then go forth and actually help them. And because of that, I ended up getting hired by like a third of the people in that room. Like literally, I mean, that one investment I made, the $25,000, what ended up being $30,000 over the course of a year. Um, Literally, I've made 10 times that amount back because of that investment. Just from that one room alone, from the people in that room that hired me and worked with me over and over again and referred me to their clients, to their friends, to their family. I mean, I've worked with the lady who runs the opera, the Phantom of the Opera in New York City, for the whole Phantom of the Opera across the world. Like, she's a client of mine. I've worked with people to help on their webinars, like develop that messaging side of things that have gone out to like all over the world, and like gone out to like major, like a huge difference. So that's just some of the places, guys, that I've been able to go out and do. Um, And just in that short amount of time, I've been able to like change a lot of people's lives in the past like several years because I got tuned in on what I was actually really, really supposed to be doing with my life. And that's what I'm challenges to you. So if you're at a place right now, you're at a crossroads where like, man, I'm not sure what direction I'm supposed to go at. I'm not happy about where I'm at. Then go ahead. Now's your time to really jump on board to figure out what that is. Because that's those individuals are who I'm actually called here to speak to today. And that's what my goal is to help you with today is help dial in, who that person is for you. And so you can go out and serve them. And that's ultimately what it is, guys, to help removing all these money blocks that are there on the subconscious level, that once you remove them, it's like you've now taken your foot off that brake, and you're just on the accelerator the whole time, instead of having your foot and your foot on the brake and the gas pedal at the same time. You're literally just full throttle all the way. It's like driving down the Autobahn there in Germany, like literally in your Ferrari, lighting your hair on fire and just enjoying it at about 180. And I've been going that fast in a car before. It's pretty wild. Feels like you're sitting still in some of these sports cars that are out there, literally going like 160 down the highway. I wasn't driving, but my buddy was driving his Porsche, and it was pretty insane. Did get a chance to take an Audi like 145 on a straightaway though in Vegas. That was a lot of fun with another group of entrepreneurs I helped put together a big party for. So guys, that's all I have right now for you. I'm going to go get that other link for you. So you've got that. You can take advantage of that to go through the page. Let me see.
So Dara, you're giving people a ton of stuff. Can you just run through it again so I get my head right?
Yeah, absolutely. So let me share with you guys again what I'm actually offering to you is inside of the training. It's going to be literally live sessions I'm going to be doing with you. I'm going to be actually starting those tomorrow evening. Actually, no, tomorrow. I think tomorrow at 1 o'clock Eastern is when I'll actually be starting those live sessions. I've got people that are coming on board to do that with. And again, those will be on a weekly basis. And that's where we start out and we help you create your limitless mind. That's getting rid of all the negative stuff that's ever happened in your life. And you're like, well, how does that even work? I was like, guys, it works really well. Because when people come to me and they're like, man, I was like, I got rid of my anger issue. I was like, well, how'd you know? He's like, well, it's crazy. I was driving down the highway and I found myself going 10 miles under the speed limit behind a guy in the fast lane. Before I would have screamed at the guy, flicked him off, and beat my horn 15 times to try to get him out of the way. And I was like, wow, that's pretty crazy. He's like, yeah, I know. And he came to me, his anger thing was associated with like something else. So guys, literally help clearing out because all that stuff is clogging you because it has such a low frequency vibration side of things. It's keeping your brain, hovering around the trash can, literally. And it's time to take out the trash. And that's really about, creating that limitless mind and opening that up. And then it's important to basically building that flow state for yourself. Like, what does that freedom flow look like for yourself? Where every day you're just doing, your thing. You're doing your freedom, whatever that is for yourself. Like you get a chance to design that. And then design your dream life about what it looks like in the 8 different core areas of your life. Your health side of things, your financial side of things, your relationship side of things, what does your group of friends look like? Is creating that and getting that crystal clear vision of yourself about what are you really brought here to do? What's that dash going to be for yourself in your life, and dialing what that is. What is your true dash? What is that thing that you're brought here to do? That God's basically giving you this gift. He says, "Hey, go forth and serve and take care of it, just like He did to me." Is figuring out what that is, guys. Discovering that authentic gift for yourself. And I mean, I have a process. I don't have time to get into it today. I have a process I do to help you dial what that is. And like literally, guys, the workshop, like you're getting a chance to work one-on-one with me as well, going through all this stuff. And I have the money block system, which I have already inside. It's already done. Once you actually log into the program, you'll have access to be able to go through on your own. And literally, guys, just from going through that one thing alone, could easily just open up your bank account and triple and quadruple the amount you've actually been attracting, because it's just one little thing that you're possibly holding on to that you can't even see right now that's holding you back. And the goal is to be able to listen to that and go through it and dial what that is over and over again. So there's absolutely nothing left. So you've gotten rid of any negative image you've had stored, from money doesn't grow on trees to greedy people like money to all this other crazy crap you've actually heard I've really gotten all that stuff out of my head, so I have trouble actually remembering them all, unless I go back and look at notes from what other people sent me. So again, the meditation side of things, these are things for you to listen to help you attract, financial abundance, to help you actually attract, that ideal wealth that's out there for you, to help you actually elevate the amount of income you have coming into your life right now. Super important you dial in your mind for all these things on a regular basis. And if you're doing that on a regular basis, guys, you'll attract these things on a regular basis. And you'll find it automatically just magically happening, where I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize that happened. How did I find myself in, taking this private jet? I have no idea. I was like, just got a phone call, right? So live one-on-one session with me to help dial that in even further. My goal really is to help you guys get results really fast. That's why people like to work with me. It's because I'm results oriented. It's like the one shot, one kill in the Marine Corps guys. It's making sure you take down whatever that thing is first, that's holding everything back. It's like super, super important. And like I said today, guys, this is only for Anthony and his group who are getting a chance to have access to this. If you had to pay individually to work with me, all these things, it would run $9,000. Normally it's $5,000 even to do just the boot camp side of things with me. But just for Anthony's group here, this is honestly the first time I'm actually offering this out here. I don't know how long I'll actually even offer this out here like this, to Anthony. I'll talk to him about how long he wants to keep this open for. But I've been feeling it's not going to be for that long, because I honestly don't want too many people on the program, because I don't want to have like 50 people. I'd like to have around like 10 people. It's like the ideal fit side of things, and already have some spots actually taken away from other people that are doing this with me. So if that speaks to you right now, Anthony, if you can put the chat in the chat box as well, the link, because I think when I put it in there, I don't know if it goes to everybody or not. So
Yeah, I haven't seen the link, Daryl. So I have no idea what it is.
I put it in the chat and the organizers, as well as answered
Oh
your
yeah,
questions and other things. So I'll throw it to you on Facebook as well. I think with
I have it.
yeah, you see it in there now?
Dozy day today. Okay, cancel that. Don't actually put it in Facebook there for me, Daryl, and I'll share it up.
Yeah, that's fine. So that's the thing, guys. It's super important again, is to dial in like what that actually looks like. I'm gonna grab the chat as well.
Daryl, thanks for doing this. It's a ridiculous amount of of value that he's giving you folks tonight, and I know a lot of the people that Daryl has talked about that have worked, and Daryl and myself are actually having conversations about us working together as well. So you can't get a much higher recommendation, folks, of me than that.
You guys, I truly just want everybody to get results. It's one of those things too, guys. You need to value yourself and value your time. I found myself, like, originally when I started just giving away like all this stuff to everybody that's out there, is if I didn't actually put something out there as far as an investment, that people didn't take it seriously, and if people don't take it seriously, they don't take action. And that's if you ask me or Anthony or anybody that's out here, that's doing stuff for people, that's the biggest thing, guys, is we get ticked off when people take inaction and then they contact us and they're like, hey, we're like, I'm not having success. I'm like, okay, well, did you follow the steps? Did you do what you're supposed to? And you'll see the person say no. And at the time, a lot of coaches like Anthony and myself, we might get a little frustrated, but the real truth is you've got a governor on your income. And if your governor's on your income, if you don't actually take it off, you're still going to be stuck in the same spot. And that's one of the most frustrating things that's out there as a coach. And when you're coaching somebody and they're constantly running up against the same issue over and over again, and they're pounding their head against the wall, and they're like, why does this person not get this? Like, I really want
How
them to,
difficult, Daryl, is it to take the governor off your income?
how fast?
Yeah, how difficult is it?
It's not difficult at all. If they do the work, they sit down and go through the material and all the stuff I've actually provided for them. It happens literally like, uh, fast. I mean, for myself, it happened the next day. I mean, like, once I finally stepped in, like, hey, my authentic action was supposed to be this. I'm talking about going from Saturday, like literally having this life-changing experience where I got a chance to work with this entrepreneur, and this guy literally, discovered in this deep session with me, discovered all these things about himself and why he was sabotaging his marriage, where he's sabotaging his business, why he abandoned his family, why his father did what he did, and all these crazy things along the way. And once he figured that out, he came out of that. And on Monday, that guy actually started on his own journey, where he left working with Russell Brunson at the time, started his own business, and then did $10,000 in revenue like that month, and has actually been, on his own journey ever since, and now runs a gym and a wellness center out of Boise, Idaho. We literally, where he goes back and helps people who are like himself and we're dealing with their own demons, and how he helps people now that are out there just change their life. And I can tell you story after story after story about guys that are like that, guys that I've worked with. They're high-level entrepreneurs. This one individual that really stands out to me, if I said his name, you probably know who he is right off the bat. And he shared with me how literally he was chasing this dream. He was dealing with this nightmare he had, where literally he would just wake up in like cold sweats, and it would cause him this nightmare of dealing with this huge problem that had happened in his past. It literally just kind of robbed him of his identity. It robbed him of people and his success and his community, and everything like dried up like overnight on him. And there was nothing he could actually do about it. And he felt absolutely hopeless and didn't know, what direction to turn. It was completely underwater, what had actually happened, how to give away like everything in his life. And by doing that, it caused him to go so far deep into his shell that he was so, hid himself from everybody in the world, that nobody even knew who he was anymore. And literally, it was in that moment, it was in this place of this ego trying to live out its life and just be like, hey, this is who I am, this is how badass I am, and all this stuff, that like people forgot who he was, so they didn't even care anymore. And he found himself trying to even talk about any of the stuff that happened in the past, and he couldn't actually move past, and he would break down, and cry over it, and he would not be able to get his message out there to the market, and not be able to, help the people like he used to. And it was just basically like tormenting himself, and every time you try to do that, you couldn't do it. You couldn't move past it, and I don't know if anybody can relate to that. You've had something like that actually happen in your life, where you've had, been scammed, your money taken from you, like myself even, or you've had instances where, you maybe invested in something that didn't actually work out the way it was supposed to work. And all of a sudden now you're gun shy about taking some kind of action in the future. Or maybe you've had somebody turn their back on you, or maybe it was a business partner, or maybe it was somebody else that robbed you of something. And all of a sudden you're like, man, I was like, that happened to me. And now you're afraid to put yourself out there. Like literally it's like business PTSD. It's no different from what these Marines suffer from dealing with the tragedies of war. Business is war too. And that's the bottom line, guys. It's like, you got to start looking at this stuff and realizing that this war out there is really the fight on poverty. That's the real fight that's out there. It's the fight against poverty, and the fight to keep you out of that. And you got to recognize like who's in your foxhole. Who are you listening to? You got people like Anthony and myself who are in the foxhole together. We're butting up the hatch, and we're, taking income and all the time from people, and people that are trying to destroy our lives, and people that say stuff that negative in nature. But guess what? I was like, that's just them and their gifts, and they can keep all that stuff, because I don't need it. It's useless to me, right? My goal is to be able to help you guys make it out of your foxhole, so you can charge forth and do whatever your true authentic gift is out there to the world, because that's a really important part. So Anthony,
just as a quick, sorry to interrupt you, because I'm very conscious in time, and you're in the hostage job. But just out of curiosity, for the people that are on in the minute, right? How much money a month would change your life? I'm just always curious to ask this question. I've never been in a position where I can ask it. How much money would change your life per month? What would be what do you think is a good figure? 10K says Richard. You got any more? Well, there's a lot of people on. 15 grand, 7 grand. 3,500. So the interesting thing is, do you believe that you're hesitating, because it's always interesting when people put in figures, because some, you hear millions of dollars and the rest of it. Like I remember when I signed the contract for $6.2 million, it took me 3 days to actually, when I got the contract, before I actually signed it, and it took me about 3 days to actually process the whole thing, because it was just kind of amazing. And definitely with the money block system, it's great. So like, anywhere from kind of 3 grand to 10 grand, guys, is a figure that would make a difference. So that's not, and I'm not being condescending in any shape or form or being bad about it, but that's actually not a lot of money, to get to. So they're good targets. There's nobody putting in $1 million a month, because to go from zero to rocket fuel is kind of difficult. So thanks for that. Sorry for cutting across you, Darren. So Darren, the link is in, guys. I'll talk to Daryl as well. There's a couple of people who had to leave early. Have asked me to send out the replay, so we'll send you out the replay of this, and we'll put the link there on it. And if you have any questions, of course, you can come back and ask us. So Daryl, I'll let you to close.
Yeah, absolutely. And guys, I thank you for coming out here and taking the action today and attending the webinar. I just put in the $1,000 session. Literally, you got a chance to listen to me going through this with a personal client of mine. So if you guys have opportunity to take your time and go through that, that's $1,000 gift, literally, just because Anthony had me on here today and you're his tribe. That's not something I give out on a regular basis. And I just want to say that, like, make sure whatever it is that you do, you know, that you take action and to do that true authentic self and step into that person that you're meant to be. And don't let anybody else tell you any differently. Don't let the other crab that's in the bucket pull you back in. Literally just get out of that and just take action and go out there and make an impact. All right, Anthony, thanks, man. I appreciate having me on. I'm going to go back to hanging out with my mom now and take her up some lunch.
You do that. And Daryl, thank you very much for sharing that. That was absolutely, truly remarkable. Guys, thanks for being on. I'll send you out the replay. It'll be sometime tomorrow afternoon because I'm missing in the morning. I'll get that out to you as soon as I possibly can. And you know, I can't highly endorse like anybody that I bring on to you, let's be honest. You know, Daryl's one of the good guys. So if this is something that's of interest to you, you know, the link is in, go grab it. And if you need any help on anything, just of course, as always, reach out to me. So folks, thank you very much. I hope you have a great afternoon or evening, wherever you are. And remember, keep smiling. Talk to you all soon.